Okay, we're live. Plane in Traffic. Lewis Lee, our headmaster from Plane in Traffic. Myself, Ray Guarino from Motor Mouth Radio. I don't know where Lewis is. In fact, I didn't know where I was a minute ago. Getting all sorts of crazy messages on the screen here. I didn't think we were gonna be able to connect. So I guess we're gonna freeform it today. I don't see any of the guys in the house out here, so it may be a real short meeting. There's a bunch of stuff going on locally that, of course, I see Lewis. There he is. Oh, Lewis.
Howdy ho, neighbor.
How are you?
I was stuck. Couldn't get in.
Isn't that a bitch? You know, that's what happened to me last week. It wouldn't recognize my mic or my camera. Like, what? I use the same equipment all the time. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, right. Did you already end? Wait, you went live, huh?
We're live. Yeah, we're the show is open. So you can take it from here, boss. Go right ahead.
Okay, people, sorry I'm late. Computer decided not to let me in the show, so Ray did his thing, took care of stuff. So tonight we are going to talk. Ray, you motivated me to for the tonight's show because you're adding stuff to your car.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, the summertime's coming, and I wanted to see what other people were doing, adding on their cars, different things, motorcycles, whatever. So you doing your fuel injection system?
Right.
How's that going?
It's going. Yeah, I just spoke with a great rep from Holly again the other day, and I ordered $300 more parts.
I've seen that.
A new harness that's I didn't even post this stuff yet because I didn't get it. I got the fuel line today and a couple of fittings, and I ordered a harness that's going to really make things easy. And I'm still playing around with this A&N stuff. I haven't gotten all the parts I need. What I want to do is I got to talk to a couple of friends and see if they have some spare fittings so I can do like a mock-up. Because like when you're doing wiring or you're doing, other things, sometimes you want to mock it up and you want to see, like, in your mind, it'll work this way, but then you find out, oh no, well then now in reality, it hits this or it hits that, or looks stupid. So I don't want to just buy stuff.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
it's expensive. So I want to see if I can get some fittings from a couple of friends and maybe do a mock-up, and then I'll know exactly what I need to buy and buy what I need. So,
well, I could send you my stuff too because I'm not going to use it. But I wouldn't use it for permanent, but just for the angles and everything.
Right.
Send you what I got.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I'm, it kind of stalls the project, but I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and I said, it doesn't really bother me too much because at least I know I got a better chance of it coming out right. And like I've already run some of the harnesses behind the fender and all, and those are going to come out because this new harness will replace that, and I may have to change the orientation of the coil, but that's okay because it's not really tough stuff to do, and it's going to make the whole installation better. So
right,
we'll go with it.
So you're putting dual fuel injection,
dual Holley Sniper throttle bodies. Well, I call them throttle bodies. They're actually EFI units because one of them does have the brain in it. It's got the ECU. They're more than just throttle bodies. They're actually, they are what they are. So, but yeah, two of them because I had 2 4-barrels on the car, so I did a swap over.
Now, here's my question. You had two carburetors on, so could you have went with one sniper, a bigger sniper, or?
Oh, I could have, but then I would have had to go to a single 4-barrel intake, which I have. I have them laying around. I got all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I could have done that, but I don't usually do stuff the easy way. I usually
yeah. Well, it's going to look a lot sweeter when you pop the hood.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'll tell you my impetus. It was going back a number of years ago. We had a club here in the island called the Long Island GTO Club, and I was friends with them. We had them on the show all the time. I was actually a member for a while, and I'd go to their show every year because Chris and I would give out awards and judge some of the cars. And I'm looking at all the 64 to 67 GTOs. That's my years. That's the first gen. And like every damn single one of them had a tri-power on it. And I have a tri-power that I always wanted to use. but you start, somebody along the way back in the 80s said, there's more tri-powers on GTOs than cars were ever produced with them,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like it's true. And I said, I don't want to have the same thing that everybody else has. So I decided at that time, I found this deal from Pace Performance. I know Tyler uses them.
Yeah, they're here local.
Yeah, they're big with the LS stuff, but they had an intake, a whole kit for the Pontiac. They sell it for small block Chevy too, and probably other motors. And it was the Edelbrock Endurashine intake, 2 4-barrels, linkage, a cam, lifters, rockers, the whole 9 yards, the whole kit. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. The 421s back in the day in the early 60s ran the dual quads. So I said, I'll make my car like an homage to the early 421 cars. And sure enough, they're 500 CFM carburetors. They're not big. And you ride off of one of them normally. So that 500 is smaller than any quadrajet you'd have on the car, which was a stock carburetor, and smaller than a Holley 600, which is what a lot of guys use. When you open it up, you had available like 1,000 or so CFM for the two of them. So that's only on the wide open throttle. But the bling factor, you open the hood and people look and you see them look and do a double take and say, you got 2 carburetors on there?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I got 2. Why? Oh, man, isn't that a bitch to tune? I mean, that starts all this conversation about how hard it must be. And I'm like, no, it's not hard. You heard me driving. The car sounds good. Yeah, it runs right because it's not that hard to do. So, yeah, this will probably just continue that, but with the fuel injection. So.
Now, with the computer, it'll adjust everything on its own, huh?
Absolutely. And I mean, within a degree it will. There's certain things it can't do unless you go to the next step. And I decided to go to the next step. And by that, what I did is I bought their computer control distributor,
I was going to say
their
that.
coil, and their control box. So now everything is going to feed back. Basically it's going to run more like a modern car. When the engine sees load, so if I was going up a hill, if I had a car full of people and, I'm going up a hill and it would load. A lot of times that's when, if you got a car that's got the timing advanced, you could start to ping or run a little hot. Well, this time the computer will know that. It'll sense it through look at all the parameters. It'll look at coolant temp, look at TPS. It'll look at the map sensor, and it'll basically dial down the timing because it has control now of the distributor. And then on a power run or wide open throttle, again, it can make those advances and distributor changes because it's all tied in. So I decided to go for the extra money and do that. So if you just put a sniper on the car without that, you'd get the benefit of the fuel injection, but you wouldn't have full engine control. So, yeah.
Now I'm guessing that you're gonna feel a big improvement.
I hope. I talked to people about. Justin is doing a job just this week. They took in a Corvette, and they're putting a sniper on it. It's a very popular change. And a lot of guys, I don't know what the percentage is. From the guys I've talked to at Holley and the ones I know that they, it seems like most people don't go the full route. So and it's probably because of the money, but it's not that much more. I mean, the sniper kit is that's the big layout right there.
Yeah.
The other stuff, I think the distributor and the control box cost me like, I don't know, maybe it was like under $500.
Yeah, me and Tyler talked to Holley because I was thinking about putting it on the Cadillac, and that's why I put the fuel pump, the electric fuel pump, and I ran the return line, so when I did switch over, it'd be ready to go.
Now, you see, that's something interesting. I had my car set up for a return line. I did this 7-8 years ago with the thoughts of if I ever want to go to fuel injection, I'm going to need a return back to the tank. Well, now guess what? Holley has this. They do it 2 ways. You can use the in-tank or the external pump with the filters and regulator, and then a return line. The system I have, the pump is built onto the sending unit, goes in the tank, and they call it a returnless system. It returns right at the sending unit. So I didn't have to run a return line now. I don't have to run an external regulator. So they kind of made it even easier for people.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which is nice. But yeah, I tell people this all the time, and I say, listen, my eyes are wide open. They tell you, yeah, you'll have easier starts. That's the one thing I'm looking for. I want to just hit that key and boom. I want it to fire, whether it's minus 20 out or if it's 120 out. You know, and that's the problem that you always face with a hot rod. You have startability issues,
and your fuel mileage should be a lot.
They say that too. They always say, listen, you get increased power, increased gas mileage, and those are buzzwords. You know, real world, I don't know. The people I've talked to who have the system, most of these things are on hot rods and weekend cruisers, and I mean, you know, they're not really looking at gas mileage anyway. I would imagine that again around town, you know, you really don't get great gas mileage or anything like that. On the road, now my car in particular, which is like a lot of other cars with an overdrive transmission that runs really low RPM on the highway, I probably would get, I'm going to say, decent gas mileage on the highway if I could, you know, just be at a nice steady cruise, because I won't be putting a lot of load on the car. I won't be at a high. The TPS will only be at, you know, maybe 16%, 15%, something like that. It's not going to be like you're not going to be running hard, you know, like it used to be. So I tell people, you don't do it for the gas mileage. Then if you do, if you think that's it, you're fooling yourself. And there's a guy I watch who has a GTO, and he had a sniper on the car and did a lot of motor work, did a dyno test, and got very good numbers on the car, respectable numbers. Then he went to Edelbrock's new fuel rail system, where instead of using the sniper as the now that thing has 4 injectors in it, they are literally regular fuel injectors. He got a manifold that was drilled and has fuel rails on it now, like a modern fuel injected car.
Right.
His sniper came off, and now he literally has a throttle body. The thing that looks like the carburetor literally just meters air. It's all it does. Now the injectors, it's port injection. So he died, and of course they said, yeah, you get better fuel gas mileage and you get more top power. I don't know about the gas mileage, but he dynoed the car, and he found he didn't gain a lot of horsepower, maybe a couple single digits in the horsepower, but he did increase his torque by a decent amount. Now he's up to like 500 foot-pounds of torque with this car. So, you know, the dyno doesn't lie. So, and with all this stuff, you have to say, well, is it worth the money? And
depends on what you're doing with it.
Yeah, how do you answer that question? You know, you know, if you steal from your kid's college fund, or you're not buying food for a week, now it probably doesn't pay. But you know, if you got some expendable income, or you're selling off your old parts,
and that's your hobby, you know,
then it makes you happy. It's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, some people spend money on hot rods or Hot Wheels.
Right.
It all depends on what makes you happy.
Cases up. We got to talk to Justin too, because he's doing this. You know, he's done this installation, and he's doing one right now. In fact, he's done a few of them, so he knows the drill. But it seems. I was at a car club meeting this week. I was a guest speaker at the one of the Corvette clubs had me in, and we got to talking about this stuff. And there's a guy there his shop has done a bunch of these, so we were kind of talking about it out loud. And he said, yeah, it's not hard. The biggest problem is the stuff that gets almost everybody is the electrics. And it's like everything else. But I told him, I said, you know, I've been using resources at Holly and downloading the diagrams. And I'm putting them on bigger page. You just gotta follow the book. And I made a post last week on all the social media platforms where Holly, in the back of the sniper manual, the back page is all the examples of what not to do with electrical connectors. And, you know, bad butt connectors, taps, just twisted connections, wire nuts, all the stuff that we see and talk about all the time. And wouldn't you know it, you know, I got my stuff used from a guy. I'll tell you a story quick. 55 Chevy. He was always a dual quad guy, tunnel ram. He decides to go in the modern world and get these 2 snipers. Bolts them on, does the installation, drives it 50 miles, doesn't like it. It's not running right. Takes them off, goes out and buys a single sniper. Now, of course, changes the intake, puts a single sniper on. Doesn't like that because it didn't run right. So he takes that off. Now we're talking, a couple grand at a clip here.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to talk about, is it worth it? What does he do? Puts back the tunnel ram with 2 780 Hollies, old school, and he loves it. Right.
Yeah.
So my friend Dougie had gotten, he's telling me the story. I said, what'd the guy do with all those snipers? So he says, well, I bought the single one for one of my projects. I'm like, what do you do with the duals? And he goes, he still got them. Like, who the hell wants dual snipers? I'm like,
there you go.
I do. So we made a deal, and that's how I got the parts. So, and of course, he gave me the harnesses and the display, gave me everything except the AN fittings. So, because he was using those on his carburetors.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at one of these harnesses the other day, and I'm going through it, and it was a harness I actually had to use part of it. And there was some taped connectors, and he had, cut the wires. I undo the tape, and what do I find? He took the wires, twisted them together, folded it over, and taped it. A no-no, exactly what they don't want you to do. So again, he didn't look at the manual. Guys don't read,
Yeah, so that could have been his problems, huh?
He had other problems too. I know he did. And the few things I've learned from talking to people at Holley and others were, they want you to use clean electrical connectors, clean electrical connections for power. And by that, they mean right to the battery. This fellow at the meeting was telling me he had a car come in, a customer had installed his own system, and he was having trouble with it. And he said, everything looks like it checked out, but one of the other connectors that it'll power the coil, it'll power the module, is a switched ignition source. So they tell you right in the book, if you have a GM car and you're going to use the feed from the key that used to go to the coil, if you have a resistor wire in there, that has to come out because that drops the voltage in the run position to save the points.
Right.
So they say check it not only with a test light, but check it with a voltmeter, and key on. You should have 12 volts battery voltage in the start position. In the cranking position, you should also have 12 volts. And in that case, if you had the resistor, it wouldn't be. So, or if you had any other problems, and that's what this guy just disregarded that. I don't know if that was the wire he used, but whatever wire he did use didn't have a full 12 volts in the crank position. So this is why his car would never start right and run right. And again,
little stuff.
There's some common stuff that people are learning. And the other one is, in the case of the guy that I got the stuff from, I think I know two of the problems he had. Being that he's an old school guy, and I asked if he had an MSD in the car, and they said he did. The guys at Holley told me, if anybody's using an older MSD, and he couldn't tell me how old means old, but he said if it's been in the car for a while, it should be changed. And not because it doesn't work. It's because the older ones that we used even with HEIs, or points distributors, they weren't a true digital signal. They were more of an analog signal, and it was a dirty signal. If you look at it on a scope, it's a very dirty signal. It's not clean. Whereas the new one's nice, clean, crisp digital waveform. He says that runs havoc with the ECU on the sniper. It makes it nutty. And this guy, I'm sure, had an older MSD unit.
Yeah, probably.
So, guys are saying, "Hey, my MSD is fine. What am I going to spend another couple $100 for?" Well,
okay. It's like any electronics. You got to upgrade sooner or later.
Well, in this case, I mean, when he went back to those carburetors, his car runs fine now, I'm sure, because he's not dealing with digital electronics. The other thing was those battery connections. You have to be. The guy I was talking to at Holley the other day said, "Yeah, Ray," he goes, "It's a dirty word." He goes, and I know you'll know it. He goes, "But talk about relays," and they said we like to see everything on a relay, a clean connection on a relay. I said, "Yeah, I understand that." He says, "But guys don't." I said, "Yeah, I know. Guys don't understand relays. They don't know how to wire them. Even if they understand them and then try to wire them, a lot of times they wire them wrong. And wrong, not wrong with the pins in the wrong position, but wrong with wrong feeds and whatnot."
Right. I started researching a lot of that stuff because I was going to put relays on everything in the Cadillac because I was going to add so much electronics. I was going to put the iPad and all that stuff in the dash and the newer gauges and all that stuff. So I started trying to learn it, learn much as possible before I play with it.
I'd love to get this guy on the show. There's a guy here. I've shown this many times. This automotive wiring electrical systems. This guy, Tony Candela, he has a business called CE Electric. He's in Arizona. And I don't remember if he had I'll look and see. I think he's probably got a website. You look at the wiring this guy does, and it's beautiful. I mean, everything is spec and over spec. You know, he really knows how to do stuff the right way. I'd love to get him on the show. But yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way, you know, do that stuff.
When me and Terry when we were at PRI, we were talking to Holly, and I think the guy that does that tech part of it, I think his name is Steve. I want to say Steve.
Okay.
But everything you said, you know, I'm not real familiar with all this stuff, but everything that you just said, he was talking about. So I kind of, you know, heard it, and it makes sense when you're saying it.
I'll give you another example. A friend of mine has a bunch of cars, but he has 64 Corvette, small block, and he wanted to put a fast EFI on it. Was it fast or was it Phytech? Yeah, it was Phytech. All right. Same thing, same idea as a sniper. And this guy was a professional mechanic for years. He knows what he's doing. You know, me and him came up since third grade together. So, you know, I learned a lot from him. And he was telling me through the months that, that damn fuel injection, I can't get it. It's just not working right. It's not running right. And he's been in touch with the tech guys. He's done this and done that, did everything they said. Everything's checking out. But he just wasn't happy with it. So I finally found out a couple months ago. He said, I finally got an answer on the fuel injection. You're never going to believe it. I said, try me. He says, okay, the battery connections from the ECU, they want it to go right to the battery. I said, yeah, I know that's big. Well, on his car, his battery, I just talked about this last week with Brian. His battery, he has a 2-foot, 24-inch battery cable. That's it. And he used, I think, number 2 gauge. It's fat. So for 2 feet, number 2 gauge, the resistance is like nil, right to the starter. And he tapped it in right at the starter, right where the battery cable attaches to the starter. Figuring it's the same point electrically as the battery. And, you know, I would have agreed with that, especially on the low resistance cable, you know. Well, it ended up when the guy at Holly, they finally talked about it, and the guy said, Holly says, no, listen, do me a favor, put the connection on the battery. Just literally move it 2 feet, put it up on the battery, see what happens. And he says, I know we're talking a matter of inches here, but, well, that solved the problem.
Wow.
And I really can't explain that. I mean, I can explain it electrically because there is, any length of wire does have a resistance to it, but.
Well, could it have been the starter pulling a little bit?
You know, I guess. I don't think they went and did real exhaustive diagnostics looking at it with a scope or anything, but he was just happy to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And as far as using that point as a connection, you know, I would have agreed with that. I would have said, you know what? Yeah, it's right from the battery. It's a direct battery connect, you know, direct battery source. And especially since you're 2 feet away and you got a 2 gauge cable, you know, you're not using a flimsy battery cable. But no, that was it. So follow the rules. Yeah. And, you know, it seems like all the stories I've heard all came down to the same things. And I just learned something from Holly the other day. I wanted to, on the rear throttle body, or the rear sniper, the fuel fitting comes out facing the firewall. So I got to come to the front. So they make a 180 fitting. It's just like a horseshoe. And this guy was telling me, don't use it. Don't use a 180. He goes, it's too much of a restriction for the fuel. He goes, I don't even like using 90s. I was like, really? Wow, really? So I got to work around that. And that's why I need fittings, so I can kind of mock this up and make it look. And I said, well, what a guy. I said, you guys, you know, it'd be nice if you made a kit for these things. He goes, well, you know what? There's so many different ways of running. And I said, I understand that. And on this car, he had it on a tunnel ram. So he probably came off the front, off the back, just came into a big Y, into a block with his gauge, and then just ran down to his, you know, his feed. I said, I'm not doing that. I want to keep it clean in the engine compartment.
Right.
So I the first time I heard anybody say don't use a 180 or maybe not even a 90. So,
wow. I mean, it makes sense, but
I guess
you would think it wouldn't be that much, but I can see it.
now I'm going to put I bought a pressure gauge and an AN fitting. It's a pressure log. I'm going to put right up at the throttle body. So I'll see the pressure right at the throttle body. So I'll know, if I'm losing pressure. Yeah, he was talking also about that, about losing pressure. I've been watching videos like crazy. If you just go into YouTube and put in Holly Sniper, you will find a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And guys are showing even how to modify it and make changes to the base setup, once you have it on. So there's a ton of information out there. And I saw another guy talking about fuel. He said even the sending unit, the way the sending unit came out, bent and causing him a restriction on the fuel side.
Yeah.
Well, there's no restrictions here.
Yeah, no restrictions.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I tell you, it's really crazy. And sometimes you get lost in all this because, you wouldn't think, like you said, having a 180-degree pipe, 180 degree would cause a problem. But and of course, with that stuff, it's just little things. It's kind of like, when you were talking about the fuel rail, putting a fuel rail in, ported injection. Some guys get crazy and they start hogging out the intake because they think bigger is better or more flow, whatever. But you got to have some of that roughness in the casting because that helps atomize the fuel coming out, and you can actually hurt and hurt your performance rather than really gaining any performance.
Yeah, when fuel does that, it actually forms it's like rain on the window. The little drops form together to make bigger blobs. And like Brian's saying, if you have that, you got to have that roughness in the floor of an intake runner to kind of break it up and make it more of an atomization type of a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, that's why, some people, that's BS. Yeah. But when you get to numbers and showing that, and you do so many little things. That's why, like you were saying about the connections, we talk about it all the time, and the majority of so many people's problems are a connection, a ground, not even. I know you try not to get super anal about stuff, but like a lot of times you make your own circuit. You make your own. You don't even use part of the car anymore.
Right.
That.
That's right.
And you just make your own. You grab. I know you have it, Ray. I have them, but we have a notebook, and you draw out. You make your own thing.
Yeah.
And
it
just it makes it easier. I can't even tell you how many. I know me and Ray talked about this. There's a guy up at our local hot rod on Sunday mornings, and he's chasing a gremlin. And I keep telling him, dude, you cannot use the factory wiring harness with an MSD. You can put all you want on it, but you don't have the 12 volts that it needs. And of course, what do I know? I just drive around in a tool truck all day, so I just say whatever. Right.
Well, that's the thing. Guys don't understand, and I get it. A lot of guys don't understand basic electricity, basic electronics. And, if you were ever schooled in that, I happen to have been, I was. But I know guys that weren't schooled in it, but just learned it through jobs and other ways.
Oh, yeah.
Most people didn't. And, it gets banged into your head if you're learning it formally. Or you're learning it one way or another if you're doing it on a job, like what works, what's typical convention and what's not. And, you carry good habits on and you're going to have good jobs, good outcomes. You carry bad habits and you're always going to have trouble. And, we see it all the time.
Now, with using the factory wiring, you don't know where that wire is running to. It could be running to a junction of a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, that's why you have to get a schematic and you have to look. But I'll tell you something. The guy at the shop where I do work, he's a real smart guy. He doesn't, he knows he doesn't do electric. He does house electric, but he doesn't do electronics. And on his own cars. I'm pulling out my schematics and laying them out, and then I got all my electrical tools. He comes in the shop and he sees that, and he's like, "Whoa, boy!" He turns around and goes, "I'm out of here." I'm like, "What?" So I actually said, "No, wait. What is it that you?" I stopped. I said, "What is it that you don't? That's scaring you here?" He goes, "I don't know what you're looking at. What that is? That's a bunch of lines." I'm like, "That's right. But those lines are telling me where things are going or where they're coming from."
Yeah.
And I picked out a part of the. I actually showed him I had printed out a schematic for the Buick that we were working on, and I did it on E-size paper. So that's 36 by 48. You know, I magnetized it to the hood. So on the full car schematics, I showed him like in a service manual. I said, "Look at this. If you draw a line down the middle," I said, "you kind of separate the car from the bulkhead. And if you look all the way on the left," I said, "all of these items over here, what do we see? Cornering light, directional, headlight, horn. This is all the stuff that's at the front of the car." I said, "Let's look at the far right of that schematic. Tail light, gas gauge. This is all the backside of the car. So picture it. Now picture your car, but this is just the bones of it, if you will." I said, "And all the stuff in the middle, here's the dash." And I started showing them, here's the ignition switch, here's the heater, and showed them now how it's just connecting. Each line is a wire.
Yeah. You should see how detailed the Bluebird bus schematics are. Down to every wire has a number, and it has a color, and it is pretty slick. I mean, you could be in any part of the bus, and you look at the number, and look on the sheet, and say, "Okay, this is that wire."
I went through this with the Holly rep the other day. I want to use this. There's a 10-pin and a 7-pin connector to come off the sniper. And the 10-pin had the 2 wires I needed. A white wire for the points output, which is going to go to the ignition box, and a tan wire, a brown wire that's going to feed the tack. But I had half of that plug. I didn't have the other half of the weather pack plug. And what I did is I went to Holly. They got some great resources on their site if you dig deep, and you got to use the search function. It'll help you. I said if I knew the pin outs of that connector, I'd know which pins I could use. And when they do a pin out, you guys may know, let's say it's like 4 pins, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of them is going to be pin 1 or pin A, and there's going to be 2, 3, and 4. I don't care if there's 32 or 64. It follows a convention. And in electronics, like on a chip, pin 1 is usually always in the same place, so it makes it easy. So, but that part of the plug wasn't marked. It ended up being the other half that I didn't have that was going to be marked, and I couldn't see the colors of the wires because they were sheathed. So I found the pin out diagram on Holly's website. I said, "Okay, I need F and G. Now, what are they? Which ones are they?" So I got a step closer, And when I was talking to the guy, I told him that. I said, "Listen, I don't think I need I was going to buy the harness." I said, "But if I just knew the pin out schematic, I know I need pin F and G." And he goes, "How do you know you need F and G?" I said, "Well, I found it on your website." He goes, "Man, no one ever looks for stuff like that." He says, "I was a deep dive." I'm like, "Yeah, luckily, you guys had it." So again, it's a matter of just, knowing how one thing relates to another. So what wire is F? Then you can verify, okay, it's supposed to be a white. Look, and their wires, they write what they go to on the wire. It's all printed.
And Ray, that 710 split should be really easy to pick up.
Sometimes 710 is a little tough. Yeah, I can be a little tough. But again, this is stuff that, and I know it. A lot of people aren't into doing this. It's not that they can't do it. I mean, I always tell it to people, you don't say you can't do it. Just say, you don't know how to do it. You haven't been trained. So now let's take a little time, And like I told the guy at the shop, I said, "Let me show you." He goes, "You can show me." He says, "It's interesting." He says, "But I'm never going to do this." I was like, "Okay." I said, "Good." So you know what? That's smart. Don't do it, and make sure that somebody else does, so you don't end up in trouble.
It was funny because, when I was on the radio, my shopping cart this week, with the pin out box stuff, or the pin connectors, back probing. And it was so funny. I'd walk in and they'd be like, "What's in the box?" And I'd say, "Oh, it's a back probing kit and adapters and a harness, and these plug into meter." Oh,
right.
I don't touch that stuff. Go talk to that guy, because I don't touch. And I was like, "Dude, why not I mean, it's real simple. But again, luckily, there are some guys that know they shouldn't touch it, which saves everybody a headache.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, there's a guy that says, oh, yeah. And of course, they make a bowl full of spaghetti.
Right.
And they have nothing but, they have nothing but problems. But it was kind of funny seeing how many guys were like, whoa, that's out of my league,
It's black magic. Talking at this meeting, the Corvette meeting, I was talking to the guys about, we're talking about the radio show. So I said, we try and help people with their cars. I said, but some people now, I said, with scanners, I said, scanners have come down. You can buy a budget price scanner that doesn't do everything, a little more than a code reader. It can give you some live data and all. I said, the problem is people read, a P0301 code, and they're going out and they're buying fuel injectors or they're buying coils. And because they read somewhere that could be the problem. I said, or a PO420, God, any of the evap codes. It's like, you got to go a couple steps deeper. You can't just take that and I mean, you can just buy.
You don't have to talk about me while I'm here on the screen, right?
Now listen, my co-host Chris, admittedly, he's a parts cannon guy, and he's always said it. He said, if I have to, I got a bad oxygen sensor, so I'm going to buy 4. I'm like, what are you going to do? Break 3 of them? No, he goes, no. Well, he figures, well, if one of them is bad, they're all about the same age. I might as well change them all. Now, there's some logic in that. It's twisted, but there is some logic in that because they're all the same age. But my contention was, but how do you know it's the oxygen sensor? Just because you get an oxygen sensor code, it could be an oxygen sensor, but could be a wire, could be a connector, could be a bad cat that's causing it. And there could be other things causing it. Could be air. A lot of things.
Well, I think it's a wish. It's a hope. That's it.
I'm sorry.
I ran through that with the Toyota.
Today when I was sitting eating lunch, and this guy walks up to the tool truck and says, "Hey, I really hate to bother you, but hey, do you have this? Do you have the tool to remove this?" And he shows me a picture of an oxygen sensor.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." So what's wrong? He goes, "Oh, well, a buddy of mine told me this is the problem because that's why I have a check engine light." And I was like, well, there's other things to look at. And he goes, are you going to sell me a tool or not? I said, all right, no problem, dude. I'll sell you a tool, but right. I know that next week he's going to bring the tool back and want his money back because he changed his sensor and it wasn't the problem.
Should just told him, look, you have a 7/8 inch wrench, don't you?
Yeah, well, and
no, they don't because it's not metric.
Yeah, well, the funny part was I said it's 7/8, and he was like, "Well, what's that?" And I was like, 7/8 of an inch. That's
just tell him, look, it's an 1/8 less than an inch. That's all.
So I was like, never mind. I said, here, I got this. Here you go. This is the tool. Yeah. And he goes, well, maybe I need a set. And I said, well, a set of these is $200. Oh, no, I just need this right here. Right. And I was like,
just last week, I tell you, I was diagnosed. I got a check engine light on a Mazda that I drive, and it was one of the air valves on the engine. But there was another code in there that was dormant, and it was an O2 code. And I know, I got a bad cat in that car. So I was cheating the system, and I finally put an O2 spacer in it, to bring the O2 out of the exhaust
stream. Yeah.
And now the light doesn't come on, right? So what I did is I went into live data and I looked at it, and I'm seeing that O2 sensor. I'm looking at the voltage rating, and it's 0. I was like, okay, I'm not surprised. It's out of the stream. It's not getting any input. Now somebody else may look at that and say, oh my God, I better go buy an oxygen sensor. It's got no 0 voltage. But Joe always said, my other coach said, you do driver's seat diagnostics first. You go in, you plug in, you read the codes, look at the live data, and then you open the hood and take a look. And in this case, if you went and looked at that oxygen sensor, you'd see, oh, it's got a spacer. Maybe that's why there's no voltage. But instead of just going out and buying parts. So, Justin, I want to hear about your experiences with these EFI units, because you've done more of it than certainly more than I have.
Actually, pretty much everything you've been saying is true. The fitting thing was kind of an interesting one. I'd never heard that, but
I didn't either.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's clean electrical connections is a big one. We've had
So let me ask you this: with the conversions you've done, how many of them have included a distributor and control box?
I haven't personally done one with the distributor.
Okay.
Most of them are just the actual unit itself. The Corvette that I'm doing now, that was a unit and a tank, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I haven't actually done one with the distributor.
So how is because I haven't even driven a car with one of them in it, so I don't even know what the drivability is. How did it change the cars? Just going to the EFI unit.
For a car that's, tuned in pretty decently on a carburetor and that's mechanically sound, you're not going to notice a whole lot of performance. But like you said, it's the startability in any weather. You drive the thing through the mountains and then back down to sea level. You're not having to reach at a car halfway up a mountain, and the drivability just seems better.
It's going to run like an electric car, Ray. You're just going to have instant acceleration.
All the power right now.
No voice.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. The thing I'm looking forward to is that instant startability in any weather, any temperature.
Yeah.
I was watching a video by a guy today. I forget, he's an independent guy, something garage. And he was saying he'd put his on a C10 truck. And what he found was, he found that his, the throttle pressure was a little more, it changed. It wasn't the same as with the carburetor. And so it was more instantaneous and more like hyperactive. So he found that on his particular unit, and I'm saying that because I don't think it's like that on all of them, there's a link. It's a piece of linkage. When you open the throttles, the primaries open, but this is a direct link to the secondary. So the primaries and secondaries open together. It's a progressive. No, it's not. Yeah, it's progressive linkage. Mm-hmm. No, it's not progressive.
That's like a 1-to-1.
Yeah, there's another name for it. So progressive is when the primaries open first, and then the secondaries follow, like a regular quadjet or a Holly or anything like that. So he found a link pin that had a bend in it that would actually take up some space, and it would actually let the primaries open first, and then the secondaries, and he could set the throttle angle. So he knew. I missed the part where he said how he knew what he was at, because he went back into the controller and then told the TPS that it was 37 degrees so that it understood what was going on and it wouldn't, freak out. And he says, now I got better drivability because I start on those primaries and then it increases. So I said, wow, I got 2 of these things. So I'm going to have 8 barrels simultaneously opening, which I really don't need. I didn't have it that way with the carburetors, certainly. And I looked, and the link pins on my snipers, where they go in to the linkage on the carburetor, it's slotted. So they are progressive. I'm like, okay, so they're not all that way. But again, now I'm finding videos on how to fine tune the things, and it's kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, there is a lot of tuning with them. There really is. Same with the Phytex and the Fast. So pretty much all of them now. Go ahead.
What's the rule of thumb you use for mounting the oxygen sensors? How far, where do you mount them on the collector?
And I just did this on the Corvette. I think they say as close to your collector as possible, within like 10 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, usually around like 6 to 8. A lot of it, they give you a good bit of room. A lot's kind of just dependent on what fits best in your car.
Well, I was watching another guy who said, another guy's garage, somebody's garage, and he was saying that he mounted his too far back. So basically, it was like it was out of it wasn't in the stream that the sniper wanted it to be in. He was getting all sorts of conflicting feedback information. So he was saying they had to be like 6 to 8 inches. But from what he was saying, and I wish he would have put up a graphic, because I always like to double check, understand what someone's saying. It seemed to me like what he was saying, where the 4 header tubes come in, and then the back part of the header mates with those 4 tubes and goes to the collector flange. From that point where the 4 tubes converge you have to be 6 to 8 inches away. You may not always have that on a header, especially not on a shorty header for sure. So I guess then you got to go into your, and he said he found it was super critical. Once he moved that oxygen sensor back, all the problems he had associated with that were gone. So
don't they normally mount them in the collector down the bottom?
In the collector, but they I know Holly says 4 to 6. You know what? Let me see. I'll tell you what they say because I have their book right here.
But the only other problem that they have is usually they have like what are those things called? The PCV or the dump oil tubes or whatever, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot,
scavenger, not scavenger, but that's where instead of running like a PCV or oil can, they go all the way down. They dump it down that way, right?
Right.
Oh, like a vacuum, like the vacuum balancer motor. Let me see. Here's oxygen sensor. I know the other thing too is the angle is critical. They want it to be like 10 to 15 degrees so water doesn't accumulate.
Right.
But let me see what they say
yeah,
here.
You can't have them pointing. Basically, can't have them pointing up.
Right. Oxygen sensor should be mounted at a point where it can read a good average of all the cylinders in one bank. This would be slightly after all the cylinders merge. If you have long tube headers, mount the sensor approximately 1 to 10 inches after the collector. You must have at least 18 inches of exhaust pipe after the sensor. All right, so all they're saying is really 1 to 10 inches.
And that's the thing we found too with cars that we've done electric cutouts on, is making sure you have 18 inches to that as well.
Right.
What do you mean 18 inches to what?
Cutout.
To the end of the an open end of a pipe. So basically it's not pulling air back and getting false readings.
Reversion, yeah. Basically if what
you're talking
it's like if the cutout was right at the flange of the header. If you went from the header right to the cutout and you open the cutout, you get reversion. You get cold air coming back in, which is going to screw with the O2 sensor.
Okay. All right. You're talking about with a cutout with the sniper or a fuel. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that was something I wanted to do to my car too, but I started looking at the prices of those things. I said, we'll wait a little while on that.
Old school, man. Cable, baby.
Cable.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that was something to deal with. Go ahead.
No. So yeah, I'm curious to hear everything you got to say about this stuff because everybody I talk to, I'm learning something new from. It's great.
Well, I'm doing the same. So there's quite a bit I'm learning from either talking to Holly or other people that have done it. One of them I'm kind of playing with right now is coolant temp placement, like your coolant temp sensor,
right?
Because we've got one car that came in that the sensor was placed in the water pump. Small block Chevy had a fitting on there, and that's just where he put it. And I've noticed on the handheld, the temp will swing 40, 50 degrees super quick as you're driving.
Oh.
And obviously that's messing with your tuning.
Yeah. That's why I went with the second bung in my intake manifold. And I was wondering, on if it mattered on what side of the thermostat you were on. Now, I was thinking I could cheap out. I could have done this myself and just put it right into thermostat housing. And Derek from Vice Grip Garage, he did a Tempest Le Mans. I think it had a single over. Yeah, it had to do the overhead cam 6 engine.
Oh yeah.
They said, and he put it right in the thermostat housing, I guess for ease. Well, I found out Holly says, do not put it in the thermostat housing. And they didn't elaborate why, but it could be, again, because of the temperature differential. It takes a while for that to heat up. So
speaking of Derek, I talked to him at PRI, so he's going to come on the show as soon as he gets some free time.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. Yeah, I asked Terry to hook me up with him to get him on the radio show too. So yeah, we'll do that once I get him. We get him on here.
Yeah, he's on a mission, man.
Okay. So yeah, that's another good point. The coolant temp.
Yeah, but I even noticed that with I've seen that problem with cooling fans. when they tap in, they try to find the easiest place to put that. And like I said, it gets up there and, like you said, you got which side of the thermostat, but you got such a big swing of, 50 degrees or more flowing through, and the fans don't, the fans, you're like, this thing should be turning on, and you're like, why? And you realize you're again.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm gonna kill my mic. I'm gonna leave the camera going so you all can continue to make fun of me in the background.
Hey, tell us what you're doing first.
Yeah, come on, give us some info. What are you doing?
He's painting something.
I'm working. Let me lay down this first jam, and I'll come back while that's drying and participate tonight.
Okay.
All right, Paul.
I'm gonna mute the mic.
So what I found was when I was looking at that pinout on the sniper, which I'm sure, it was the first time I did it. I'm sure a lot of people have never done it. You can control. They give you all sorts of stuff. They give you like two controlled grounds, 2 fan controllers on there. You can control a whole bunch of stuff through that sniper, which is really pretty cool. So I'm thinking like, okay, I know through my vintage AC, I could control an electric fan with the trinary switch. But I could also control it now through the sniper, if I decide to do that. So,
and I know those things too will give you an option to kick up your RPM when your fans or your AC kicks on
and shut off at wide open throttle. Yeah, it'll kill the AC at wide open. Yeah, I know. I was reading that too. A lot of information there. There's a lot. It's very sophisticated.
I tell you what, those guys from Holly, man, they're really in tune with their stuff. Like, there's guys that just don't work there. They know their stuff.
When I was actually, I showed you a guy who wrote this book. It's G-Body Performance. Joe Hines. I had him on a radio show. He was my connection. And what it is, when you call Holly, you get any one of the texts, and the sniper text. I don't know how many they have. Well, he got so good at it that they bumped him up to a position where he doesn't talk to the customer. When the techs have a problem, they call him. So he's the tech. So, but now he left Holly and he went to another company now. So he was explaining to me that I put the order through with him when I bought the distributor and the control box. He says, good, I'm glad to hear you doing that because you're really doing it now the right way. And he said, and then he gave me the information about the MSDs and all that. He says, I'll tell you something, Ray. He goes, we own MSD. Holly owns MSD. He goes, so we know what's going on, and we have all their old prints and their old specs and all their old information. So we could see, what they had done, and now we knew how to improve it for our purposes.
And not to cut you off real quick, but before we get any further, you said something, and when you were talking about, well, I have an MSD already, and, you're putting – now, it's okay if you're using age-appropriate stuff. I mean, if you're old school and what was the electronic ignition conversion? I think you had one. I know I had it in the Mustang. Yeah. When you're dealing with something that was 20 years ago, it's okay to have the coil from 20 years ago. It all matches. You know what I'm saying? Right. But, you can't take a 20-year-old, something that was made 20 years ago, and put something like your digital, like you were saying, and it's digital reading, and wonder why you have these problems. I mean, if you're going to be old school and run old stuff, and you stay in the same age time, that's one thing. But mix match and stuff, you have nothing but headaches.
Well, that's problems. It. I think I said a while ago, I was buying parts for my car. Back in the 90s, I was already thinking about restoring it. So I was buying stuff when I had money. And one of the things I bought was a brand new MSD and an HEI coil, an Excel coil. I didn't use either one of them. So I could take that brand new the HEI out and say, hey, I got a brand new HEI. But if I put it in my car now the sniper's not going to work because why? Well, it's brand new. Why doesn't it? No, it's brand new, but it's 30 years old, brand new.
30 years old.
Right.
That's like you said, trying to use 30-year-old technology with today's standards.
And the thing was not that it was bad technology, because it wasn't. It just didn't have to be that good, because you put it into a points distributor, or you put it on an HEI or any other distributor, and the analog signal was fine. There was no interference.
Yep.
You know, now you put it on in the digital world, and all the crosstalk and all the fuzz comes in, and that's when the sniper gets stunad because it doesn't understand. You know, it can't read through the cryptic stuff. So
thought I'd pull up Paul and
watch
see what
somebody
he's up
working
to.
for a change.
Yeah.
I was a bum today, man. I didn't do nothing.
Man, I tell you what, seeing him paint, man, makes me want to paint.
Yeah,
I can smell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I tell you how much I bumped. I want my buddy yesterday went and had lunch. Went to the diner. We walked in there like, wow, this place is packed. It was like 1:00. The place was packed. And by the time we got up, he said, "Hey, where'd everybody go?" Like we were in there for like 3.5 hours, just shooting the breeze. Just
chilling.
It's like, yeah, lunch is caving down. The dinner crowd will be coming in soon, man. We better get out of here.
Hey, that's nice that you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good. I told you, man, that's the Romeo Club. Retired old men eating out.
If you can smell the same thing I'm smelling.
We were just saying that, Paul. Lewis was just saying he can smell the paint.
Well, I've been listening. I just muted the mic, so I heard you all talking about me.
Yeah. I pulled you up close so we can see you paint.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got an Eastwood shirt on, so I guess maybe I'm wearing an appropriate shirt. We'll give Eastwood the plug.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Is that Hunter Green?
I hope not.
It almost looks green on the plastic. Yeah.
Is it purple? No.
I do see green. Yeah.
It's I think they're calling it matte black instead of flat black. It's got a little bit of a gloss to it.
Uh-huh.
It's a single stage, cheap enamel.
Okay.
Very nice.
Now, is that your project or is it a customer?
What we're doing is this mid-80 C10 is earmarked for the C10 Nationals next weekend down in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I guess it's the Dallas Motorsports Complex or whatever. They're hosting the big C10 Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And just did a bunch of chassis work and roll cage and tied the back half of these giant tires. I don't know if y'all can make that out in the video or not. I think it's got steamroller tires under it. None of it was tied together, so we ended up having to tie everything together. So last night, I don't know if y'all can make out the roll bar.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, we'll see where the roll bar attaches down through the floor there and ties into the frame in the front. Attaches, goes straight down through the floor there and attaches to the frame. And then it's got through the cab and to right there where it ties in. And this is a slip joint. So we designed this so that it all got set up, and then it slips into the air, goes down through the bed there, and then it's got plates that bolt here to the frame, and then where those bars go down, I got plates underneath where it all bolts together. So it ties everything together.
Mm-hmm. Are you painting the whole truck or?
Yes. Whole truck's getting done. I don't know if y'all can make out that monster that's down inside of here.
So you got a little over 10 days.
I have less than that because it has to go to the upholstery guy too.
Oh, wow. Lord.
Now, if you had seen what this truck looked like yesterday, and I don't think I've posted any pictures to Facebook yet. If you'd seen what it looked like yesterday, it's starting to actually look like a truck now. Yesterday, there was no rear end under it. There was literally nothing yesterday. I had to get it back down onto the ground and get the bed back in place. I'd painted all the frame and everything underneath while the bed was off and the cab was kind of moved off a little bit so you could get to the paint on the top side and where everything came through. And
So, Paul, with the slip joint thing in there, and so that's so that you can still separate the bed, or is that you just so when you put it together and then you welded that so it's solid?
No, it's not welded. Everything's on a slip joint. Everything can be disassembled. Anybody can do this and just punch a hole and weld a tube in place.
Well, I understand that, but I was just wondering, you just made it so that it's serviceable, or if you had to take the bed off or whatever, right?
Exactly. The truck is still very serviceable. So it unbolts there. The cab can still come off the frame. Everything's made to be disassembled. You don't know how many times a car or a truck or a special build project has come through my hands. An 80 street rod that was done. It's got 80,000 hard miles on it. Fantastic car. Turbo 350 or whatever, C4. Transmission's tired. Customer wants to upgrade to an overdrive or just freshen up the transmission that's in there. You can't take it out because they built the car around the setup and had everything welded in place. So you either cut it apart or you pull the motor to get the trans or whatever the case may be. Think ahead, be proactive, and know that the truck is going to have to be serviced.
We had an El Camino come in the shop one time like that. We needed to do something with the exhaust, and all of the exhaust was one piece. The tailpipes welded to the mufflers, welded to the mid pipes, welded to the headers.
Oh boy!
So yeah, nobody's taking that off.
Yeah,
break out the Sawzall.
It's crazy. Well, looks like it's gonna be a nice truck.
It will be a very nice truck, or it is a very nice truck. It just had some issues from the previous shop, and that's the whole reason my boss and I get these things. The other shop took it to wherever they could take it to, and never really had it as a completed vehicle that was usable. So while we're doing all these changes and tying everything together, and prepping for the paint, we're like, now's the time to do these things. So you do them.
Yep.
But yeah, I got a little bit of a deadline on this. Basically, this is not any kind of side job or nothing. This is work. It's Anthony's job, Vintage Iron, Texas. Basically, because of the deadline we were under and the conditions.
You just brought it home from homework.
Work best alone. I said, just take it to the house. And I've been at it 12, 14, 16-hour days the last 3 days.
Wow.
So we're gonna continue to move this thing forward and meet the deadline.
So that's cool. You get to work from home too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's I always tried to figure out how the hell do I work from home. Well, here it is.
There it is.
Texas. I put together an office that I can work out of.
I'm trying to figure out how to drive the bus from home.
Yeah, it's a little tough. Huh?
Well, it won't be too much longer. They'll have these video games out, and you'll be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to put us out of work. They're putting in systems where self-driving buses.
Yeah, that's good.
So I won't have to worry about it.
Well, to be totally honest with you guys, and I'm sure this was a concern of yours at some point, is, let's see if the phone can just sit right there. What did I do? Cancel.
No, you're good.
Basically, when the pandemic hit, did I go out? Yeah, I'm gonna drop the camera down a little bit. When the pandemic hit, and there was all this homeschooling going on, that should have been a clue right there. Oh shit, we don't need brick and mortar schools.
Yep.
We can homeschool from this point on. We don't need school bus drivers. We don't need cafeteria ladies. We don't need all the administrative people.
Yep.
It's not the same.
New York City.
The whole school system and setup changes.
Yeah, it's not the same.
My daughter goes to MC, and MC, Paul.
Yeah. Tacoma Park or Montgomery College or
Montgomery County, campus. And she's got
I thought it was motorcycle school.
no, she's got it's funny because she even to that right now still she's got like 3 of the classes are virtual or online, and she only goes 2 classes on campus.
Wow.
And that's still now, even after all this, that they still have that in class, virtual inline.
You know what's messed up is to still pay the same tuition.
Right.
No, you get money back.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a little priced out different, but again, like Paul says, they realized, and it's even like where my wife works at Verizon, down the street where she had to go in. I mean, there's a huge building down there, and the UPS guy is the same guy that I have. He goes down there and he says, in that building, there may only be 1 or 2 people. Where before there would have been 20,000 people in the building. So that's the only thing that I fear, because I see it downtown Silver Spring how dead it is. People not being down there because they all work from home. The real estate, the business real estate market's going to be the next thing that's going to really crash here.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up. Now, because I grew up in downtown Silver Spring, or right in the heart of Four Corners, and walking distance to downtown Silver Spring,
Yep.
From the late 60s through, within, the last 15 years, I've really seen it change. I got it about 20 years ago, but what used to be a lot of residential became commercialized in office area. I understand that commercial buildings now are being sought out to revitalize back at apartment buildings and condos.
Yep.
So, it's a shame that you've known that area for a long time. East-West Ford, East-West Lincoln Mercury, whatever it's called, back behind where the Metro is, or Metro Ford, or whatever they call it. That's all high-rise apartments now.
Oh, yeah.
That was all East-West Highway through there. Canada Drive, the Chevrolet dealer, the Ford dealer.
Volkswagen dealership. You had everything down on East-West Highway there.
Yeah.
And actually back in 2007, 2010, I don't know, maybe a little earlier. I lost there's only one shop on that road now, and I lost like 7 other shops that used to be on that road.
Wow.
There was an All Tune and Lube.
Yeah, that's gone. All that stuff's gone.
Oh, I'm sure that's long gone. Martin Chevrolet, the Canada Dry Building. Is the Canada Dry Building still there?
What they did was they kept the front of it, and they made that part of the lobby to the condo association. So you walk through, and it had the big opening and the sign of Canada Dry, but they saved that. They saved that front part, but that's all apartments or condos down there.
Yeah. Apple Amico became the courthouse. I freaked out when I saw that one.
Yeah, no, but it's like I said, but you go down there now, and before where I had difficulties parking the truck or whatever, I could park it right in the middle of the road and walk all over the place, and there's no foot traffic. I don't even know how half those places stay open now for lunchtime rush. So it's sad. It's tough.
It is sad, and I don't know. I can see the Discovery Building becoming a high-end condo.
Well, they kicked them out, so there is no Discovery Building down there anymore.
Oh, okay.
That's empty. That big building is empty. They lost all that revenue down there.
Wow.
Hey, Ray, got a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm working
Keep the
on
mic
peaches.
My next coat on.
Okay.
Paul. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Don't get no ashes in
Why not? It's just a door jamb on a C10.
it. So Ray, I put one of those speedometers that has on peaches. I put the speedometer on that has
GPS type, right?
No, actually I used the one that has the cable to the magnet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, an inductive.
Yeah, but the wire that goes to the RPMs doesn't work. And the more I looked at it, it was one of those cheap Chinese joints, and the directions are crazy. And everybody's having the same problems.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna upgrade to the original, the real one. This is the knockoff.
Right.
Which I didn't realize. I didn't research it too much when I bought it.
Yeah.
So I customized the whole dash. So I don't want to make a whole new dash. I want to buy the same unit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Here, let me show you, because I can't. Wait, I can't show you. I was about to go walk with my phone, but I can't remember what the name of it is, and I can't find it.
I was gonna say, a buddy of mine in his dune buggy, he went to aftermarket gauges, but it's a GPS style, so it actually you calibrate it through a satellite. So we actually did a speed time thing where he drove and kept the speed. It gave him directions, go to different speeds, but we had a time. And if you had marks on the road, you could do it. So I was his timer, basically, and we got it dialed in, and that thing works really well.
Does it?
That works really well. Yeah, he's been using that for a number of years now and had no problems with it.
Yeah, my speedometer works pretty good. It's just I have no tack, and my fuel gauge doesn't work either.
Huh. Sounds like a ground problem.
Yeah, right.
Probably.
Well, the fuel gauge is reading right off your tank. I mean, there's obviously
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Well, see, on my bike, it had a funny cluster. The whole section was all one piece. The gauges, all that, and somewhere between the gas tank and that cluster is something I'm missing.
Right.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
When you lose ground, generally you'll go
full.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, because I took the whole thing out. I have no gauge at all. The new cluster, the new gauges, that it doesn't work. So
you don't even have the stock gauge, right?
Right, the stock gauge is gone.
So what is this? What is the gauge? The gauge that's in there now. So is it always reading full, or is it just reading empty, or does the gauge the needle doesn't move? Where's the needle?
It doesn't move. It's digital.
It's not getting the signals. What it's not getting. So it's got to get a reference signal from the sensor in the tank.
Right.
You probably never wired it.
Well, I did wire it, but it didn't work. I think it's the cheap gauge I used.
Aha.
Here, I'm gonna go take a picture of it.
He would need what's that thing called? You would need a dimmer switch, right? You would need a dimmer resistor.
You're talking about like a track.
Yeah, so you can hook to it and see if the gauge works, right? I mean, that's
what I was just going to say. I was going to explain that typically the gauge in the tank it's a resistor, a variable resistor. And you can put an ohm meter on it and you can read. I mean, it helps to know what it's supposed to be. Like in a GM car, it's 90 ohms. They're all 90 ohms.
Right.
So it's 0 to 90. It's 0 when it's empty. It's 90 when it's full. And,
that's what the guy was telling me. I got to put a resistor on it.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's all digital. So so you're taking the analog signal from your like your tack signal was probably an analog signal right off the ignition coil, just like a regular car, and your fuel is an analog signal off the resistor, off the flow.
So I got to put a resistor on the tack.
Well, you got to put something to convert it over to
digital. It's got to be an A to D converter. which is
Yeah.
analog to digital. It's an A to D converter, and that should have come with the gauges.
Well, no.
That's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about, using the period correct components. You're taking analog, and you want to read digital. So you needed a conversion. There's a conversion. You need that little black box that nobody wants to touch.
Right. And A to D converters in the electronics world are not. It's not an exclusive. It's not black magic. I mean, they use A to D converters for everything. They've been used for many, many, many years. Okay. You don't even know it because you don't. It's behind the scenes, so you don't see it doing its job. But
so the way this system said that you run the wire to one of the number one wire, coil wire, wrap it around the wire, and
it's inductive.
Yeah, but it still, that didn't work either.
That's just going to take an inductive signal off the wire to run the tack.
Right. So I tried that. That didn't work. So I ran straight to one of the coils. That didn't work.
Now, I mean, I could see if they gave you a toroid, which is it's a wire wrapped donut. And basically you can do a lot of stuff with a toroid. It's kind of cool if you put power to a toroid and bring a neon bulb, not connected to anything, just held in your hand. You bring a neon bulb into that toroid, it'll light up. Oh, yeah? It'll just light up by induction. Yeah. Huh. So that's kind of the process of what they use in there. That's the science they're using.
Ray, stop with that black magic.
I don't say the F word again. I know. But that's the thing. It doesn't mean that the device is going to work. Like if in this case, if your gauges are faulty, you can wrap that wire around your neck and it's not going to show you anything.
Yeah, I think that's my problem is this gauge. Now, did you see what it looked like? Have you seen the original ones? I can't remember the name of it.
Well, they'd be analog. They'd be analog gauges on the.
No. I mean, the brand of. This is a real popular brand.
What would it come on the? Well, it's a Japanese gauge, obviously.
Yeah.
On the Yamaha, but it's an analog gauge for sure. I mean, the speedometer uses a cable. The fuel gauge is using a wire off the tank. Mm-hmm. And now that gauge cluster that just gets powered up with switched power from the key.
Yeah. Yep.
And you went right. Did you go right to the ignition switch, or where'd you pull your switched power from?
I went to my power distribution unit that I put in it.
Okay. Well, again, here's the thing. Like we were talking about with the snipers, if they want a full system voltage, if they want a full system 12 volts, and you're pulling it off of a lead that's, there's something else in the line and it's dragging the voltage down.
Some of that stuff could only be 8 volts.
Right. And your ground, you may want to, I don't know where you grounded it, but if you ground it to a fiberglass panel, that's going to be a problem. You may want to make sure that ground, just for safe, bring that ground right back. Even if you use a test lead and just put a test lead right to the ground on the battery, even put positive and negative test leads, to the power and ground right to the battery.
That way you see if it lights up.
Just see if it lights up. If it lights up, okay, you got a problem with one or both of those connections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how you got to approach the diagnostics of it.
Yeah, well, next week I'll be putting the carburetor and stuff on, so I'll be really digging into it, fix everything that I didn't fix before.
Yeah, and I mean, the gauges are new, so we all know what that means. There could be a fault at the gauge, but it could also be something at the hookup. You have to kind of, and it's like doing diagnostics on a car. You have to, what the problem is, so you have that. Like, okay, great. Now where do I go? Now you got to start trying to figure out where. So it's a matter of doing tests to eliminate things. And the first thing I would do is either test your positive and negative supply that you're using, or eliminate it and go right to the battery. And if the thing lights up, that your supply was bad choice.
That's what I would do. I would, like you say, disconnect it and go from 12 volts and 12 volts ground. I mean, our battery
I'm going to say something else though. Many electronics, like computer stuff, they don't run on 12. They run on 5 volts.
5 volts, yeah.
So if you put it to 12, you could fry the damn thing.
No, that's true. They didn't come with any kind of wiring diagram.
No, and that's when the schematic. You see, Lewis, that's when the schematic tells you what the voltage reference is. That's why the schematic.
No, you're absolutely you are absolutely right, because a lot of this stuff is running off of a 5-volt system, 5-volt single or whatever.
And then they would give you a black box that basically knocks the voltage down from 12 to, like, a lot of cars did that. Chryslers all did it for the dash. Mustangs did it. They had a resistor on the back of the dash that knocked the voltage down for the gauges.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, even if you just took a jumper wire,
there you go,
and and checked your ground, especially ground. I mean, at least with the ground, you know that you have a good ground.
Lewis, do you have a variable power supply?
No.
Okay. Because what I would do is I would take my variable power supply, dial it down, hook the gauges up to that, and slowly increase the voltage. I'd start at go to 5 volts. And if you crack 5 and you go into 6 and the thing lights, okay, all it needs is 5 volts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start at 12, like I said, you could fry it. So
that's why I was saying, I know there's I saw on YouTube about making one, and basically they used a dimmer switch. Like a rheostat from a headlight.
Yeah.
Okay, you could do that.
If you took the dimmer on an old school car with a dimmer switch for the interior, and you ran that through, and like I said, if you looked with a meter and you saw where it started out, if it was 2 volts or whatever, and you can roll it up and make that, and that way. You're not popping 12 volts right to it and blowing. Usually, you didn't hear this from me, but if you jump into 12 volts, it usually gets really fucking bright. And then you know what I'm saying? So you do have a little bit of a tolerance, but you don't want to keep it there,
Yeah.
But like I said, if you can pick these up at any automotive store, I would say Radio Shack, but
that's sad.
Alligator, they just have a clip.
Mm-hmm. I have some.
Yeah, and like I said, especially it's really good sometimes just adding a second ground and seeing if you do have a ground problem, on there.
All right.
I thought you had one of those knob adjuster things that you made, Ray.
No, but I'll show you what I did make. It's an LM317T. This is a variable voltage regulator right here.
Yeah.
This is a voltage regulator circuit right here that'll give me 0 to 12 volts, depending on how I bias that chip. That's all it's in the power in the regulator. That's it right there. That chip. So, you got to buy things like this. You got to get little. These circuits are so common. These are the 555 timers. These are the timers that run like your wipers and stuff.
Yeah.
But these here, these are little LM317T. This is a variable voltage. This is a variable voltage regulator right there in that package. And you just have to set up the resistor network around it. And then you have, I like to build a little circuit sometimes and use them on projects. But we're talking about, that's when you need like the schematics.
Actually, you know what? On the back of that gauge,
schematic,
on that back of that gauge where it goes in, it might tell you
it might
5 volts.
And it would be 5 VDC.
5, yeah.
Which
or it would tell DC. It might tell you on the very back where that plug is, because I've seen that
right
on components like that, where it's telling you right off the bat what you should have or what you need for it to work.
Yeah. I'll check it out, because I'm going to take all that apart pretty soon. Because the old Peaches is pretty dirty. I got to clean her and put her back together.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it. I'll let you know. What happens.
And that's what happened when you change everything like that. there's stuff that they don't tell you or they don't give you because they omitted it. Now, if you don't know that it's supposed to be there, you don't even know to tell them, hey, where is it?
Well, this company, every review and everything I looked at, the directions were terrible. Like it was, I don't know who wrote it. A Chinese guy.
From Chinaman.
Yeah, it was terrible. I should have knew right there. I should have sent it back and got the next one up.
Yeah.
Well, when I grow up, I'll learn.
Yeah. Good luck.
Nice stuff.
I'm back.
They copied that unit off of a name brand, and I can't remember what it is.
BDO?
No, I think it started with a K. Come on, Ray. I know you know some high end, not high end, but popular gauges for motorcycles. I think it started with a K.
Most of the guys I know are running either like the the Harleys. They're keeping with the Harley stuff, or guys are using just aftermarket analog.
Here's one, Blue Rice. That ain't it.
No.
I think that's the one I got.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just redo the whole dash.
Well,
Yeah,
you made the panel, right, out of fiberglass?
Yeah. Out of leather,
Yeah.
Yeah, I might just do the whole thing over.
You don't need no stinking gauges.
Yeah. Till I run out of gas again.
That's why you gotta have you gotta have a little dipstick on the side, and people say, "What's that for?" And you just take the gas tap off and dip it on in there, and you know exactly how much you got.
Sight tube.
I've had many cars and they were all pre-war hot rod, street rod stuff. A yardstick or a broken in half yardstick was sitting behind the seat or under the seat or next to the fuel tank, and that was your gas gauge.
Yeah,
There's lots of stories. Some people know about the Ocean City Car Show. It's been ongoing now 30 years or more.
Yep.
In the 90s, it was notorious that Paul would run out of gas. And there was one in the first Model A coming into Ocean City. The car ran out of fuel on that Route 50 bridge there going across the bay, going right into Ocean City.
Yeah. Everybody loved you after that.
On station on the left-hand side in the opposing lanes that you used to be able to just whip into. You can't do that anymore, but in the 90s you could. I was going fast enough across that bridge that when I ran out of fuel, I coasted the rest of the way across the bridge, and I could see the gas station. I'm like, will I make it? Will I make it? And I'm trying to judge the traffic coming the way. And I finally went into the opposing lanes and swung into the gas station through the opposing lanes backwards. I made it. I don't know how many of you guys mix paints and play with any paint work. I think there's a few of us out there. I still use a Pyrex glass mixing cup.
Oh, yeah. Old school.
Straight out of the kitchen or from Bed Bath & Beyond or something. I've had this one for a while. Steal it out of your wife's kitchen or whatever. If you know how to do the math and work percentages, this is the best way to mix paint, I think.
Well, they make those cups pretty cheap now.
Yeah, the plastic ones.
with the lines on them.
Idiot-proof cups. This is more fun.
Yeah. Until you mix something wrong.
But you just got to remember to mix the rest of the truck the same color.
It's black.
We talk about mixing paint. That reminds me of a quick story. I used to come home late at night, and I had the garage door opener, and I would cut off the hot rod and coast down the hill and slide it into the garage, because it was after hours, and didn't want to wake up the household. And one night, the batteries were a little weak in the controller, and I came in and I skimmed the top of the door with the Mustang and the blue paint, and we had a yellow house, and I get out and there's this blue mark and on the garage door, and I was like, oh damn, because Dad had just painted the door that day, So I looked over and I see the paint sitting there. So what do you do in the middle of the night? Grabbed a can of paint, got a brush, I'm painting. And of course, being a dumbass kid, I'm like, man, this doesn't look like the right color. Of course, wet paint's different from dry paint. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, and I keep painting. And next thing you know, I paint the whole bottom of the door. That way it all looked the same, so it would dry the same. So, of course, that was a Saturday. Sunday morning, I get up at noon or whatever from sleeping. And, of course, my dad, God love him, he's already up and he's sitting there at the breakfast table waiting for me. And I come down and he's like, so how was your art class last night? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, somebody painted the door last night. And I was like, oh, well, I had this, a little mishap. I said, how did you know I painted the door? He goes, well, it's not the right color. And I was like, what do you mean? So I go out, and of course it was two different yellows because my dad mixed the two different paints
Oh,
to get the color that he wanted. So I trying to be sneaky. You couldn't fool my dad, man. I mean, you would never think you go to he wanted a certain yellow, so he got two colors at the hardware store and mixed it himself, and so I had to repaint the door that day. So
yeah,
but yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
you should have went out like, yeah, it's the same color. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was like looking, and of course, later in the sunlight, you're like, man, those are two different. I said, yeah. He goes, what happened? I said, well, I came down the hill and cut the car off, and the clicker didn't click fast enough to open the door. So I hit the bottom of the door. Glad I just didn't tear the whole door off.
Yeah, imagine. Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Or break the windshield in the car or whatever. I mean,
then you would have woke him up.
Well, luckily, like I said, the garage was on one side of the house and the master bedroom or their bedroom was all the way on the other side. So, but because of the garage being on the first floor and not running exhaust really on the car, when I would start it, everything on the first floor would just vibrate in the house. So I had, what was it? Like 3-inch, and it was downpipes right before the rear axles.
Yeah.
So everything kind of bounced around on the first floor.
I sent you an inspirational video today.
I started it on the 67. Yeah.
It's that guy Kiwi. He's Tony DeFeo, Uncle Tony's garage. He's down in Tennessee where Tony is. So Tony goes to his place and does a lot of videos. But Kiwi started his own channel. He doesn't post as much as Tony, but he does a lot of Mustang stuff. And that was the guy that's doing that. Was the 69? He's putting the Coyote in it, so he redid the firewall.
Yeah.
Unbelievable work this guy does. But that 67 was just I was impressed with that build. It was just a clean, neat, fast car. And I figured, boy, if this doesn't get Brian's juices boiling, nothing.
Man, I tell you, like I said, I want to box my stuff up and send it down to Paul since he works all hours down there.
Yeah, there you go.
He might be asleep.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta jump ship.
Yeah.
I gotta meet an adult in the morning.
All right, Lewis.
It happens.
Good night, Lewis.
All right, you guys stay safe this week.
All right.
See you, man.
Now I won't be like Ray.
Yeah.
I'm being like Ray. We're not saying staying safe anymore.
Right.
No? Okay.
No.
Lewis, keep up with throwing up those shorts. That's cool. When you're on YouTube, throwing up the teaser clips and all from the past shows. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm
Keep
playing
it
around with
focused.
AI. I'm learning.
Okay.
So
Is that how you did the captions?
yeah.
It got me right. If you can get me right,
Listen, the AI is not playing around, man.
No. I tell you, I had one of them on the phone. Well, they had me on the phone last week, and it took me a little bit to figure out it wasn't a real person. And then I started screwing with it.
I'm digging deep into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ask it, how can I make the gauges work on my motorcycle?
There you go. I'm gonna have to call her up. Hey.
And she'll be telling you, read the schematic.
Yeah. Read the directions, dummy.
Damn it.
If you want to predict the future, you look at science fiction of today.
Yeah.
If you look at today, look back to science fiction of a few years back. I'm going to go about 25 years ago to show the X-Files.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't specifically say AI, but they were investigating and then have proven a silicone life form that was basically AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there in the X-Files 25 years ago, and they're talking about shit of today.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true. Science fiction, even Star Trek,
Well,
Dick Tracy,
Example.
Now you wear a watch, you can make phone calls and all, you got it.
Well, I think it would have been here sooner if the internet didn't pop up. See, the way it works is it goes through databases.
Right.
And as you talk to it, it's learning what you're telling it, and it's adding it to a database. So it's hitting Google, it's hitting all the databases. So it's smarter than anybody in seconds because it hits everything at once. Yeah. Where we'd have to look at a video or, you know what I mean? We'll never be able to process that fast.
Right.
You should see, I put that video in and it came back with 35 different options I could use to post.
Wow. Nice.
Yep.
Another one that's not quite into the AI side of it, but science fiction predicting the future. I'm not too sure when the book not 1984, the book Fahrenheit 451.
That was in the 70s.
It had to have been earlier than that.
Because I read it in high school.
I remember reading it in high school as well, but that book had to have been out at least 20 years then. Maybe it was a fresh book then.
I don't know if I have a copy of it here. I might, maybe buried though.
Well, yeah, I'll catch you guys later.
All right, Louis.
All right. Good night. Everyone have a good week. Talk to you all later.
All right. Go on, Paul. All right. Okay, who's next?
Who's next? Man,
Justin,
I tell you.
Tell us about those shop projects, Justin. You guys are turning out some cool stuff. It's always so. I want to know in the shop, do you have guys that are, say, the chassis guys and like the exhaust guys, and like is it you you'll get all the fuel injection conversions, or does somebody else do it, or are you guys just all that talented?
We do all kind of have our little niche thing, but what's really cool about it is pretty much anybody can do almost anything.
That's
guys will bounce around from department to department. I mean, guys like the body shop guys will kind of stay where they're at. I mean, they're busy. We got a lot of
the shop guys don't like moving around too much, from what I've seen.
But they can also, I mean, those guys can weld. They can do some mechanical work. I do a lot of mechanical assembly, exhaust fab. But yeah, I mean, we got a handful of metal fab projects or something, I'll bounce in and do some fab work, rust repair or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of multifaceted, which is really cool.
Okay. That is good. That is good. So what's it like when you have to pick up where somebody else left off? Are you guys all like on the same page with your methods, or do you have, is it where you got to figure out and call them over and say, hey, what did you do over here?
For the most part, we're all kind of on the same page. I mean, it might happen where we got a guy out sick or something, and he's in the middle of a project. Somebody's got to hop in and pick up where he left off, and there might be a little bit of figuring, okay, where did he leave off at?
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, we're all pretty good at communicating. We've actually got it set up now to where myself and another one of our guys, Jake, are co-project leads. So most every project in the shop is going to run through our boss and our shop manager and then one of us.
Okay.
We have meetings every week to kind of discuss, get everybody on the same page, make sure we're lining up projects to keep everybody busy.
Right.
So now more than ever, we're kind of got our hands in everything and at least know what's going on.
No, that's a good system. It really is. So is there anybody who does like the central, like a service, like what a service manager would be, like somebody who kind of ferries it out, or do you just kind of figure it out yourselves?
Yeah, I think our boss and our shop manager, TJ and Brian, they pretty much run things. They're always in constant communication. Now, what we got coming in, when, what's the scope of the project, who's working on it,
right.
That sort of thing. They're really good at handling the business side of things.
You have a parts guy, right? You have a guy that oversees all that, or is that from the two guys up front?
Yeah, it's most of the two guys up front. As technicians, if it's a local parts store type of deal, we can order it. Just call, get stuff coming. Anything that's we've got to get coming from some sort of company or something, we'll go through them, let them know what parts we need, they get it ordered.
Mm-hmm. So with the just keying back to this fuel injection stuff, how many bins of AN fittings do you guys have there?
We got a pretty good sized bin, and then we got like a nice one of those racks up in the showroom where we a bunch of different fittings, various sizes, and
yeah, that's the stash I need to raid. I was just gonna, and I'm so confused because I'm pretty sure I know Holly bought a lot of companies. I think they bought Earl's. The only place you can find Earl's is through Holly, and I actually bought some stuff through them. You look in Summit, and we were talking about this last week. There's Summit fittings, which obviously they don't make them, and there's Aeroquip, and I'm looking at the catalog, and there's Frigola, like Tyler was talking about, and Russell, and I don't know which ones are more compatible because I was told, again, like I said, to keep the fittings in the hose the same. So now I got a 10-foot roll of Earl's hose today and a couple of fittings, but I'm gonna need some more. That's what I was gonna talk to you guys about. But Brian, I was contemplating I may flare a couple of my hard lines and use the flare fittings, but it's a 37 degree as opposed to a 45. So obviously any of the brake line stuff is all 45, unless you buy like the Eastwood one with the cartridges that has the 37. I want to ask you, Brian, that tool I got from you, that doesn't do 37, does it? It does just 45?
No, but 37 is like 37 is aviation.
Well, yeah, it's for AN.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why it's not on there. Now, I think I have a set of dies, but they're for the hydraulic brake line.
Okay.
Kit.
Well, what I found was, they sell the high end ones, and they're hundreds of dollars. But I was watching a video, and a guy pulls out. He had one that was like the old style, just like the block, the clamshell block,
right?
And with the fitting that goes over,
thing, yeah.
Except it just had a 45 degree cone, and those are like $23. I'm just probably going to buy one of them. Then another guy came up with one by Rigid, the Rigid company. So I actually just put it into Google. Home Depot sells it. It's a Rigid number 377.
Yeah.
37 degree flaring tool. That's like $124, $125. And again, it's it's mechanical, it's not hydraulic based.
Yeah, I have to look because I think if you have
I'll just buy the $23 one. And
because if you have, where is my brake?
It's there somewhere.
Yeah. Then I'm looking at some of the tools, the wrenches. I don't, the wrench sets go from like -3 to dash big. I don't need all of those. So Justin, here's a question I have for you. I'm using -6 on everything since 3/8. So on the fitting that takes the -6 wrench, the fitting, like if that was to go into another fitting, like if you had a male to male and then you came into a male to female, the next one is going to be a bigger size. So you got to use 2 wrenches. Is it a 6 and an 8 or a 6 and a 10? That's when a lot of guys use that adjustable wrench, but I'm wondering what that other size, the next biggest, well, I know the next biggest is an 8. I don't know if that's how they do it because I haven't worked with them yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
So
I
like
got a couple of those adjustable AN.
So like on the throttle body, okay,
wrenches.
what I have is on my units, I have it's a pipe to AN. So it's 2 males. It goes into the sniper and what comes out is a male AN fitting. So you take a female on the hose and you just throw it. So on the female, you're using a -6 wrench. The question is, what size is that male to male? Is it a -8 or is it? Because I heard someone refer to 2 different wrench sizes and they didn't say what sizes. So I'm thinking it might be the next size. Like, when you use a nut and a bolt. Well, not all nut and bolts, but sometimes the next, your other fitting is like 2 wrench sizes up. Like if you add a fuel line into a carburetor, maybe it's it could be a 5/8, but the carburetor could be an inch or it could be 3/4.
Right. I'm trying to think, if that is the next size up or not.
Yeah, the 37-degree block thing is, like you said, about $27, $28.
The one that I was just describing, right?
Yeah, and then like I said, if you
one size, okay. John just said all the AN fittings he's seen, the male to female, the male is smaller than by one size. That's what I would have guessed. I would have guessed it would be like a 6 and an 8. That'd be my guess, but
right. And then I think I have for the hydraulic brake line kit thing, which would do any brake, bubble, trans lines, fuel, regular, like your factory fuel.
Yeah.
From there, I think I have the 37 kit because a lot of your oil lines are 37 kit, 37.
That's been my wish list tool for a long time.
I mean, like I said, you're more than welcome to it.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be right back where I was with the brake lines because I want to do my line at the tank, my hard line that comes over, and then you come out of your sending unit and I have a piece of hose in there. So, even the Holly guy said, that's kind of tough sometimes to make up a piece of hose because it's short. So you could just put a piece, because of the fittings, it becomes tight. So he says, you could put a piece of, the Earl's hose on there, and I'll use either an Oetiker clamp or a full 360-degree, like a hose clamp.
Uh-huh.
But I'm thinking if I wanted to get under there and flare that line, now I'm in a tight space with a flaring tool. Same place I was in with the brake lines with my flaring tool kit. And it's like, that's why that Matco kit is going to save my ass on a lot of that stuff because it's so small. But I need that in 37 because then the other ones are down by my fuel pump. I have a hard line coming into my fuel pump and a hard line coming out, and I want to keep those. So I figure what I'll do is I'll just disconnect them from the mechanical fuel pump and I'll just bridge it with a piece of hose. It's only going to be maybe 3-4 inches. And I bought the AN fitting that with the ferrule that would just make the compression fitting. Right. So, right. Yeah. John's saying
nice.
too, he recommends in wrenches so they don't harm the right. I saw that even with the stuff that's on these snipers now. The guy used a regular wrench and there's a couple of little spots, where it mars it. And another guy was saying, a lot of times you could put a piece of tape on the inside of the jaws of your wrench and it'll fit some. But, we all know not all wrenches fit all the fasteners the same way. It's true. I've seen that many times, be it American or metric, different brands of wrenches fit a little bit different sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
So you'd have to find one that was maybe a little bit loose, and then you could put a piece of tape in there. Because you're not tightening those things. You're not going to you don't have to muscle them. There's an O-ring seal, and you don't have to tighten them. You don't have to over-tighten them, So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't, the 37, I wish I had my catalog here. I hate this.
I was just looking through this. I actually got the Summit catalog and the Summit Tool catalog, and I'm just going through stuff in here and I already racked up. I mean, let's see, 50, 100. Yeah, it's like another $150 just in incidental stuff. Still without the fittings. I still only still didn't order the fittings. But it's the wrenches, the block for the jaws for the vise to put the fitting in, which is nice. They got a set for $25. The Earl's at $25. Summit has their own for $12.95. I'm like, oh wow, okay, you get that. I'm thinking, I know the Earl's is going to fit because it's theirs. Now Summit's could be a good knockoff, but I don't know. So it's all right. Well, we'll go with the Earl's, and then, then they'll sit there and stare at me like all the other stuff. Yeah, it's funny.
I don't even know. Well, it's probably buried back in the corner, but I don't even know where my A&N wrenches are.
See, John's saying they make AN crescent wrench. Yes, that's what we were talking about, John, about a week ago with Brian, the adjustable. And there's a couple of them that look. One of them actually, instead of having flat, just straight jaws on the crescent, it has like that notch in it. Like there's a brand of wrenches now I saw that has that. I forget who it was. Was it Gear Wrench that did that? They actually have like kind of a notch, so it'll grow.
When we have those notches, it's supposed to actually, with the notch in it, it's supposed to act like a ratcheting wrench, open end.
Okay.
It's supposed to when you get done tightening, you pull back and it slips into that, so it slides over and
Isn't
goes
that the
in.
one that has like a smaller bottom jaw though? Like the bottom jaw is shorter. Yeah, this I saw a full size. That light I was trying to think of last week is they call it the bear claw light, Brian. The Matco bear claw.
Oh, bear claw.
Or either bear trap or bear claw, because it looks like a bear trap.
Right.
Clamp it onto anything. And I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you follow the Snap-on feeds, but now Matco, of course, getting into the color, which I think is great, the blue and the purple, and of course all the other colors. Snap-on went the other way, and they put something out today for May 4th. May the 4th be with you. They have the screwdrivers and wrenches that were in like this black. It was like a black
metallic.
It was like a stealth blood. So they showed it like in space, like floating through space, like with a lightsaber. I was like, oh, okay. So I guess because Matco's going with the color now, Snap-on's going to go over to the black. It says, come over to the dark side.
Come over to the dark side.
So I think that's pretty cool when companies will play off each other like that. I mean, the black is cool. I like it because it wouldn't show the dirt and grease. But whatever. Justin, you don't have a tool guy yet, huh?
No, we actually had a Mack truck stop by our shop for the first time in like 3-4 years.
Well,
the other day. I don't know if he's going to start coming around or not.
What was he broken? Was he broken down looking for directions?
I don't know. I was kind of wondering. I was busy doing some stuff, moving some cars. Wow. But I was seeing that and I kind of took a double take. Like, man, I ain't seen that in years.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still.
Wow. That's crazy. So what are you guys doing in the shop? I mean, is there anybody who's really needing something that they don't have, so they're borrowing tools, or you guys all pretty set up?
Yeah, we borrow off each other if we have to. I mean, if it's something that's not super important, we can get just a cheaper Harbor Freight or something like that. We do.
Yeah.
Try not to break things.
Well, of course.
Of course. That's always nice.
No, but even when you're doing, you get into doing something different. Like, now if you're doing, like, let's say now you're doing, the fuel injection stuff. Hey, I want a set of AN wrenches. Tool guy has them, but now tool guy ain't coming. Right. So what are you gonna do?
It's something we'd have to order, like I say, from Summit or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that sucks.
I'm ordering stuff from Brian. That's what I'm gonna start doing.
I'm telling you, but not having a tool guy in the shop is like not having a lunch truck. It's like
I told everyone in the shop, it's like, hey, we do got a guy still, so
right.
Like, let me know. Like I said, Brian will help us. He'll look us up.
Yeah.
Have to, like I said, it's funny. It's funny that you said something about the Mac guy. We have one floating around, and everybody. It's funny when I walked into this shop today, they were like, "Oh, the Mac guy finally came by again."
Well, no, it's it's probably because he was lost and he ended up coming in asking directions.
And somebody said, and did the same thing that it was like, "Oh, that Mac guy finally showed up here. Like, I guess you got some competition." And I'm like, "Competition?" And he's like, "Yeah, you have been here for 20 years. So, I mean,
right.
More power to him, I guess. I mean,
right.
I don't know."
Hey, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. It's a terrible business model. I mean, when guys on the street know, he ain't going to show up. I mean, that's just like, why would you give the guy business?
Well, I had a guy. He said the same thing. He goes, "Man, I can't believe I bought the stuff from him, thinking that he was like, I owe him money, and he still doesn't come in here."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude," and I was like, "What did you buy?" And he said, "Well, I bought these." I said, "Man, why?" And he goes, "Well, I figured if I bought something, he would keep coming." And he goes, "It's been like 4 weeks. I mean, 4 weeks, and he hasn't come by, and I owe him a couple $100.
Right.
And he's like, "Dude," and I know what's going to happen. He's going to come in and expect the payment or expect some, like, "I missed you X amount of times, or you got to put X amount." And he goes, "Dude, I might not have it at that moment."
I mean, people get the impression they had, like, "Hey, screw that. The guy didn't show up in a month. I don't have the money now. I did something else," which is wrong. But I understand. I've seen guys have that mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you don't want, and rightfully so, hey, if you don't want to come collect the money that I owe you, and I don't know how to get in touch with you, I can't find you, then how important is it to you?
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's just a bad business model.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate too, because our Matco guy was the one that would show up.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd show up, he'd have tools if he didn't have something.
What was the guy's name? Do you remember?
Tom. I cannot remember his last name. I'm terrible with names.
Tom ain't coming. Oh yeah, Tom ain't coming.
Yeah.
What's up, Isaac?
Unfortunately.
Coach, what are you doing? Oh, already gone. Look at him.
Well,
sorry, I'm clicking button. I'm not. Of course, today, May the 4th,
yeah.
I knock over a lightsaber, and I'm over here fumbling with it.
Nice.
I'm doing good. I was gonna come on earlier, but then I heard all this AI stuff, and I was like, no, I can't go on. I don't know if I'm really gonna be talking to the guys.
You never know. You gotta figure. You gotta see if you're smarter than the bot.
I'm just kidding. We had a game, our last game today, and then I made a boo-boo at home. So I was supposed to take out the ground beef for tacos tonight, and my wife had called me on her lunch break, and she said, "You took out the meat, right?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I had meant to take it out right as I hung up with her. And then I got distracted. I'm on my way home and realize it. So I had to fast thaw the meat, cook it up, get the taco shells ready. And she had nodded off. So I didn't walk into a hailstorm of an earful. But I woke her up and I said, hey, meat's done. Shells are done. Everything's done. I'm going to go get on the show.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but-
thought maybe you do the ultimate and do what every American thinks that Taco Bell is the traditional taco, and you stopped off at Taco and bought a 10-pack.
Yeah, that I don't think would have worked.
Yeah, but now if your mom's watching, she can rat you out.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm sure my wife noticed I didn't have it out when she got home, so I'm already, once she's fully awake, and if she asks me, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I already gave a white lie earlier, and that bit me in the butt.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But yeah, we had our last game, and we ended with a tie.
Why is the season ending now?
This is about the regular time. I mean, years past, we might get an extra week. It just really depends. But this year, it's about the right time, because school graduates or ends in about another week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Crazy.
and then the other part of me being distracted was I was putting together all the information and getting everything set up for our summer football camp. Well, it's football camp, but it's basically, to be able to do it, we have to tie in all sports. So it's a conditioning and speed conditioning and strength camp. And I was trying to finalize stuff because what we piggyback off the high school. The high school allows the middle schoolers to come up and do a 2-day introduction to their camp, and then we try to piggyback off of theirs.
Okay.
So I was trying to finalize everything, get all the information together. Then I had to get it to my athletic director and have him look it over. So
okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's neat.
But yeah, my guys that are really good, they're really good hitters. The pitcher we were facing pitched really slow, and they were getting struck out because they're used to a faster pitch.
Wow.
I had to tell them, slow it down, wait for the ball. Good thing was for my kids that have struggled, they got a chance to get a piece of the ball.
Right.
But yeah, it ended up
neato. So how many AN fittings do you have in your garage?
Me, I have none. But I've been listening. I mean, the last 2 weeks you guys have talked about it. You talked about it on your radio show too.
Oh yeah. Talk about
I've been
whoever
listening.
listens.
In fact, going back to when you brought it up on the radio show, I didn't go on the radio show. I was like trying to grab my phone, Google, to see what ANs do.
Army, Navy.
And I thought that was I think when I get my Dodge truck up and running, I think I'm thinking about doing something like the sniper kit on it anyways. So I'm probably gonna take a stab at the AN fittings.
Sure.
Those snipers are really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna run you. It'll run you a couple grand. They're not cheap. But I'll tell you, I took one of the videos I happened to watch. A guy was talking about common problems and workarounds, and it was a Holly video. So the Holly tech was saying, he says, we've heard a lot of complaints from people. He says if your car starts like not running right, running like crap, idling bad, he says take a look down the 4 bores when it's idling, and you should see fuel in each of the 4 bores. And if you don't see fuel in one of them, it's indicative of a bad injector because there's 4 injectors. So he says what happens a lot of times, it's not the injector that fails, but the connector loosens up. And now if there's no pulse, no signal, it can't pulse it. So I'm thinking, well, okay, this has got everything else is weather pack, total automotive quality stuff. I mean, you got to like fight to get it apart. So he showed taking the side bowls off where the injectors live. He says some guys will put a small zip tie on the connector, or some guys will use a piece of big shrink tubing. So I said, that's okay. I got nothing else to do. Let me take mine apart. It was hell getting them off. Those things are in there tight. And the problem is, I think the connector that goes onto the injector, it only has a barb on one side instead of having it on both sides. It's only on one side. So maybe that's it. It lifts. Now, I don't know how that moves once it's in there, because I think even if you yanked on the wire, you couldn't I don't know. But he says the Holly guy was saying they've heard this a lot. So got to believe it's true. So I put zip ties on mine and put it back together, and we'll see, see what happens. But I thought that was kind of odd that they only had one, really a barbed clip on one half. But whatever. That's a good troubleshooting thing. Like, if there is a problem and you see it, instead of just going. And then when I was in there, I looked at the injector, and they're small. They're tiny injectors compared to what you'd see like on a rail, a ported rail. But I found out through this video that they are 100-pound-per-hour injectors. So that's a pretty damn good injector.
Yeah.
So, and in one sniper, you have 4 of those. And he says if you're running a high horsepower application, he goes, we can upgrade these to 120 pound per hour. I'm like, wow, okay. So while I had them out and in my hand, I'm looking at it and I'm saying there was a series of numbers on it. So I wrote the numbers down on a piece of paper in case anything ever happens and I need an injector. And they said to me, well, we need to know the number of your injector. I have it right here.
Right.
Oh, really? They don't expect that.
Instead of tearing it all back apart.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I made a note of that. And yeah. So yeah, Isaac, it's a great, like we said before, if you just follow the instructions explicitly with the electrical side and the fuel side, there really should be no problems. I did have to buy, 4 gaskets because I'm using my wood spacers that are like an inch. So you need a gasket on top, gasket on the bottom. $38 for carburetor gaskets.
Wow.
Thanks.
Holy shit. Like, yeah.
You should have just used your Tony the Tiger box.
I got gasket punches. I've made some pretty intricate gaskets, especially if I had something to go off of that I could trace, But yeah, I don't know. Spending money this week like crazy.
Just gaskets.
But I had a really good seafood wrap at the diner yesterday, man. That was with onion rings. Oh man. That was good. I only ate half of it because it was so big. I mean, this thing was like a mucho grande burrito. It was fat. So I had the other half for dinner. Heat those onion rings up in the toaster oven. Nice.
Last Saturday we were at a crawfish boil.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, they had a bunch of their friends, and one of their friends is from New Orleans, and so they hosted it, and yeah, it was pretty good. It was different.
Nice. My daughter posted something. Now she's down in North Carolina, and they've been going out to eat a lot, and she was always dieting, watching her weight, and trying to, she's screwed. She put a picture up And my wife says, "What the hell is this that she was eating?" And I had to look at it. It was kind of arc shaped, and it looked like either pulled beef or pulled pork, and it was like it had like a almost like a like a burrito topping on it. I said, "That's some kind of a bread," but she goes, "No, it was like it was pulled some kind of pulled beef, but it had like grilled mac and cheese on top of it." And
oh my god!
Like, oh my god! I said,
Wow.
"Forget it. She's gonna be 400 pounds."
Yeah.
Oh man, crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's good
That
food.
is.
Yeah, well,
Sounds like it.
yeah. I'll stick with my seafood wrap. But
yeah, so my thing this week is we were gonna order for the Honda because I got to replace that front bumper, and we found one on an internet parts dealer. I won't say the name, but
you can.
Rock Auto.
Okay.
Anyways, it was what was it, like $45? And I was like, wow, that's great deal, everybody else wanted 80 or more. I went to go to order it, and shipping brought it up to 300.
Oh,
And I told my wife, and she's like, yeah, I don't think so.
no.
And I said, yeah, I have to agree with you. And so she goes, don't you always find Hondas at the junkyard? And I said, the problem is finding one that's not been smacked in the front.
Right.
And so I went and looked, and I found one, and I got the bumper off, brought it home. So our car looks black, but it's navy blue. And the bumper I got was gold. So I got everything to sand it down, and it had so here in Arizona, you don't have to have front plates.
Right.
And it had a front plate holder. So I took it off real simple. And, but the top screws that go in for the plate, whoever had it before, they ran the screws in all the way into the plastic, and there's 2 divots in the front. And and we're thinking about doing a wrap on the car. Paint's too expensive. We'd like to make it look a little bit better, but we've been thinking about doing a wrap. And so I told her I got to start researching and find out. I said, I'm not a body man. I don't like body work. But I need to research some type of a filler that works with plastic. So I did look it up. I found some at O'Reilly. So that's what I'm doing. I got it sanded down, and tomorrow, I didn't get a chance today, but tomorrow I'm going to start messing with it to work with the filler. And
so you have a filler, you said.
Yeah.
All right. So I could check with the guys at the shop, because the main business is a body shop, and that's what they do all the time.
Yeah, I found a Bondo. It's a Bondo brand bumper filler kit, and before I purchased it, I looked it up online while I was standing there, and it said that it is a flexible filler.
Okay.
That's my concern, of course. But at first, when I told her about it, she said, "Do we really need it?" And I said, "Well." I said, I'm going to spray over it with the black bumper in, bumper and bumper and accessory paint, the Duplicolor.
Yeah.
And I said, it probably won't really show there or any of the other little scrapes. I said, but when we go to wrap it, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And then I got to take it off and do it all over again. And I said, it's just better to get it done now.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping by the end of the weekend to have it done and on the car.
Nice.
So,
and all the clips, you got all the clips to
yeah.
mount it and all, because that's I actually got a set of sockets from Brian last year that were, the deep, a lot of the not the Hondas, but I know a lot of the European cars, they use these. You got to get into this nut, and it's like 6 inches in. It's like you need a telescope to find it, and Now all those deep sockets, you use those guys.
Yeah, all except for there's 2 bolts that go into the bumper that mount it to the bumper. I'm I'd have to look at it again, but I'm pretty positive the rest are all the plastic clips, the ones that have the punch in the middle.
Right.
So,
hey Brian, one of the things I just saw online, actually, Snap-on had it on one of their advertisements during the week. You guys now they've come up with like a metal pry bar flat. It looks like a tire iron for a motorcycle. And they show prying off dashboard parts or whatever. And they said, like, when you need something that's a little more firm and more more beefy than plastic, I figured they'd be making the rounds. Yeah. You sell a lot of those for the body guys?
Yeah, we have those.
Are the body guys picking them up or what?
Yeah, a lot of guys. I mean, I have a few, but they still go with the plastic. The metal, there's like one that, it's like you said, a shoehorn or a.
It looks like a motorcycle tire iron.
Yeah, and we have a 2-piece kit and of the metal ones, and again. I think a lot of guys stay away from them because they don't want to be tempted to use it on something that they shouldn't.
Oh, you mean they actually want to exercise self-restraint?
I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
I've shown them, and I have them on the truck, and they're like, oh, I'll just stick with the plastic ones. So I don't know. That there's also, damn it. Man, I really hate when I don't have my. Here it is. I think it's. I feel naked without my catalogs.
I got one here. You want me to look something up here?
Well, this was in the sales flyer. Oh, shit. Actually, I just got up and looked. It really bothers me. I can't find my 37 degrees. This one is fairly popular too, and it's metal. I don't know if it looks a little.
Okay. Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
Similar.
The other one has, like you said, more of that tire spoon look.
It's kind of flat, and it has a little curve at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, I do sell a lot of these. That particular style. Actually, I gotta remember to order some tonight. I ran out. But the other ones, like I said, some guys like them. Some guys just say, "Oh, I'll stick with the plastic ones."
Yeah, because they know when they break them, they can go back to Harbor Freight and buy a new set for $5.
Well, no, it's not when they tear up put an indentation on some of that fine leather or mess up the plastic ends. Some of them get kind of rough,
right.
With that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I have a plastic set that I got years ago. I don't use them all that often, but you can see that the ends get kind of chewed up a little bit.
Yeah.
And, depends.
We have a new set of plastic ones that are finer detail. They're very small set.
Right.
And it's actually, I like them. The problem is they're really, really delicate.
Okay.
And I had a lot of guys get a little carried away and they break them up pretty quick.
Right.
But, for the smaller stuff, again, it's I know some of this stuff is very redundant, but when unfortunately, if you have the right tool, sometimes it just makes the job. I know you can get away with some of this stuff, but having the right thing just makes it so much easier.
Oh yeah.
So I've spent last weekend we had the pouring down rain, so I didn't get much time to work on the Audi, but I spent a lot of time going through restocking a lot of stuff. You know, I know I showed you, but you know, I ran into the hardware store and they had the grinder wheels,
right,
you know, on clearance, and cutters, 4-inch cutters and so forth. And I realized how bad my supply of stuff, I drove me crazy. I went when I was working on I couldn't even find a hose clamp.
Really?
You know, I'm like digging around looking for a hose clamp, and
wow.
you know, I'm like, God, and I do not. It drives me absolutely insane when somebody puts one that's, you know, meant for a 2-inch hose and they're tightening it up on it. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I went out and restocked and, you know, ordered up all my hose clamps and so forth.
That's funny.
And
years ago, my friend Kevin and I bought we're at a swap meet and we bought like a couple of boxes of hose stainless steel clamps. We got them at a really good price, but we ended up like with 100 and we divvied them up. And the joke was, we'd always ask each other, "Hey, how many have you used?" I haven't used it. All these hose clamps, they were sitting around forever. It's like, then you stick them somewhere, and then when you need it, you can't find it. Oh yeah.
I just got. I did. I know a lot of people hate these, but these are pretty good. But I just did that with you know, the spring clamps.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was the same thing. I found a box full. It's
Right.
like 150 of them or whatever.
Right.
With the right tool, the spring clamps aren't that bad.
No, and like I said, it's just I hate. Well, I like the spring clamps. I know a lot of people hate them because if you don't have the tool, that's why it's a pain in the ass or getting to it. But it was kind of funny. I don't know if I saved it out. Damn it. I don't think. What did I do with it? Well, one of the clamps, was not together.
Right.
And they put the screw in on the wrong, so you have to. It's instead of righty tighty, it's righty loosey.
Oh yeah. Brian, yeah, look at this, Brian. This is I can't say I blocked myself. Is it screen sharing?
No.
Oh, come on now. There it is. This is that one ad, and you see the wrenches, they'll like fly through space.
Yeah.
So that's the dark side. Come to the dark side. It's titanium.
I saw that one today.
Yeah. Now, I'll see if I could find. I'm not seeing the other one. They had another one with like I think it was a set of screwdrivers, a little lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not seeing that, and I'm on their feed. I went on their official feed on Instagram. Huh. I saw that. Posts. Reels. Maybe it's a reel. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know if they're playing. They came out with wipes. I don't know, Justin, did you see that? They came out with a set of Formula 1920 steel wipes. These are recommended wipes for your Snap-on tools.
Really?
I did not see that.
I'm like, really? Like, here they are.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, right? So High quality, one-step cleaner, removes oils, grease, and dirts, lubricates and protects tools from rust, will not harm or damage handles or grips, convenient, durable, blah, blah, blah. They actually did a video where they showed 3 different pair of pliers. Now, I brought a pair of pliers back that I had bought a year or so ago because it started to get like, it wasn't really rust, but it was the finish started turning on me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a granite finish. It was like, it wasn't a chrome or polished finish. And I said, I want a new pair of pliers. I said, these things are starting to like decay. And he's like, it took him weeks to get me the pliers. Oh, Easy Red Tools actually like that. I see. So they on this video, they did a reels where they showed cleaning. They had 3 different pair of pliers. One was as machined, like right out of the factory, so it was kind of rough. Another one had some kind of coating on it, and it was like a pair of tool truck. And they claim that these wipes are the best product to keep the tools clean, and it was clinically proven in the laboratory. I was like, man, these guys will go to anything to like, to like any length.
Yeah, I don't have.
Yeah, they're really not gonna like to brake clean on a rag.
Well, I'll tell you something. When I first, a couple of years ago, I traded in my 40-year-old set of screwdrivers and bought a new set with the red and black plastic grips. And I said, okay, they're a big grip. It's triangle. That's good. I get a lot of leverage. But as soon as I use them, like, these things get dirty immediately, and I think I tried brake cleaner. So I'd asked the tool guy, I said, hey, I'm not happy with the grips because of he goes, oh, what are you cleaning them with? And I said, brake cleaner. He goes, of course, everybody uses brake cleaner. No, he goes, show me, you got to use WD-40.
Yeah, that's what I told you.
You did too, right? Well, I saw him. This was before you told me that. So he took a can of it and he took a screwdriver and he showed me, and I was amazed. And so I've been doing that ever since. In fact, when I put those injectors back in, the O-rings were kind of dry and they weren't pushing into the machine bores. So I actually had a little O-ring grease. I put it on one and I said, you know what? I switched and I gave the rest of them a shot of WD-40. I figured that can go into the fuel system and not get hurt.
Yeah. Well, the O-ring grease wouldn't hurt because that would it's the melting point or the heating point, of
yeah, I figured it'd be all right, but I
But WD-40, guys ask me all the time because we have toolbox cleaner stuff. I have some on the truck, and they ask me about it, and I just say, just use WD-40, dude.
Right.
WD-40 is like, I'm sure that cures cancer. I mean,
all right, here we go.
I worked with a guy that used to spray his arm. He had arthritis, and he'd spray down with WD-40.
Brian, this is that.
Yeah.
Tool.
Yep.
So it looked to me just like exactly like the freaking motorcycle tire irons I used to use back in the day, except this is a little thinner.
Yeah. No, we have the same one. We actually have on ours we have like a plastic, not plastic, or a vinyl handle on the end. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
that's nice.
Grip. So
that's good.
And we have 2 different sizes or 2 different. If I can remember, I think I have. I don't know if I have a full set on the truck. There's 2 pieces. But I'll snap you a picture and show you.
Okay. Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah. It's always good to see new stuff coming out.
That's been around for a long time, actually.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've been around. I mean, but they were out first. I mean, they hit the market first with that metal.
I mean, the hardest part that I've found is trying to figure out how to take the damn panels apart. And that's where the body guys have it all over me because they just know how. I took the radios this year. I took the radio out of the one Mazda and repaired it. I took the radio out of the FJ and repaired it. But the Mazda fooled me. I thought the whole bezel around it was going to come off. And there were these 2 little side pieces, like horseshoe pieces, right next to the radio. They popped off, and the screws were behind there. And I would have never known unless I went to YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, because I did. I started prying on that bezel, and it wasn't moving. I was like, wait a minute. This should. I know, like, it could be like that, a metal female spring clip, and it's a plastic male that goes in. So I know they can be really tight, especially if they haven't been apart. They can be even tighter. So I know you have to sometimes give it enough of a force to make that cracking noise.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you think you're breaking it, but you're not. And it just wasn't moving. Something just told me, no, this something isn't right. And
yeah, I hate doing that. It was funny. Yesterday I had a emergency repair on the tool truck.
Oh yeah.
I had to do front brakes.
Oh.
I was out and about, and all of a sudden I went to hit the brakes, and I said, "Man, that sounds like almost metal to metal."
Wow.
And I was like, "Damn it!" So I had a set of pads on the truck. I got, you know, belts, pads.
So you didn't have to call O'Reilly for a roadside delivery.
No, I've learned over the years to keep, I've got an oil filter, fuel filter, belts, brake pads. I got.
So where did you do the repair? In the
I went by my buddy's shop. I went by my buddy's shop, and I said, "Hey, I need to do brake pads on the truck." And he's like, "Okay." And I said, I might have a little problem with because when I did it at home last time, I noticed that the boots for the caliper slides were pretty bad shape. And of course, that's the only thing I hate when I do this stuff on Sunday at 9:30 at night. It's not like you can find anything.
You're talking about for the slide pins, the boots.
Yeah, for the slide pins. I said I might have a little bit of a problem. And Pete goes, "Well, I got a whole box full of boots. We'll find something that works." And I said, "Well, I ordered new calipers and rotors. I mean, because I do have a little bit of a shimmy or in there." And so he's like, "Well, I just got to slap, because I can't be driving around until I get the parts on, metal to metal." And so we had to heat up the old brake caliper. Let me see if I can get in the picture. The bracket to get the slides out. And
nice. Oh, they were frozen in? Nice.
Yeah, they were frozen in there. And I got to play with fire. Nice. It's always a good day. And so I kind of cut my day kind of short, but we got it all back together.
What day was that you did that?
That was Wednesday afternoon.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I was sitting in the diner, shooting the breeze, drinking soda, and you were out there.
Out there, and man, that thing was pretty hot, and I had to after we got them out, we kind of had to reshape the metal a little bit. They were.
Well, where were the new calipers? At home?
No, they haven't come yet. I ordered them. I was hoping to get through the week. I knew it was going to be close. I was like, man, I got to do this. So I called up O'Reilly's and ordered pads and rotors.
Should have drove it on the metal. It's going to, people come. Yeah. You got plenty of time till the rotor cuts itself in half.
Shit.
Come on, man.
Trying to stop that pig, that's a lot, man.
You've seen what people drive.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't you see what people were driving in North Carolina? You'd fit in there.
Yeah, tell me about it. I don't need to have metal flake. I don't need the paint job to be metal flake from the. So I had that one time. I had a guy with a 928. He came in for a brake job and literally popped the pistons out of the brake caliper. I mean, that's how far he drove the on metal to metal.
Jeez.
And so I rebuilt the calibers and, you know, put new pads and rotors and got it all back together. Well, a couple of weeks later, the service writer comes out and says, hey B, you remember that guy that had that 928? He's calling back saying something about he's got rust. The lower fender and the rock and the doors all rusted out on his car. And I said, it can't be because it's aluminum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's aluminum. The body panels are aluminum. I said, tell him to come by. We'll take a look at it. So he pulled in and I was like, oh, this is the guy. Well, the metal flakes that came off of his brake rotors melted into the paint.
Oh, wow.
So when after a couple days or in the rain, the metal flakes were rusting in the paint, and so I wiped it off and you could feel the edges of the metal. And I said, feel that? And he goes, yeah. I said, that was the metal from, he goes, well, that's covered under warranty, right?
Oh,
I said, no, you need a new paint job, dude. So, back then, I guess that 928 was around 80,000. So he melted the metal flakes into the,
that's better than a custom paint job.
Yeah. So
that'll do it.
That will do it. So that's why I like seeing those.
I can't believe
what?
I can't believe that he drove around with it grinding that long. I mean, my daughter knows better. She may not know what it is, but she knows better.
Just
I mean,
because
I know
you have
plenty of
money
females that know better.
Just
They'll
because
say,
you have money doesn't mean you have brains.
Right. Very true.
True, but most of the females I know that they don't necessarily know what's going on. They're like, hey, this is grinding, and that probably isn't a good thing. They have enough sense for that.
Yeah, it's well, I always like, because it starts to make a noise and then the noise goes away, so everything must be fine. And that's when they've ground off the sensor, you know what I'm saying, or the little chirper, and
right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all better now. And then next thing you know, it's metal to metal. I knew I was coming up on it because I could feel the difference in the brake pedal. It's kind of funny about it. You get the characteristics of the vehicle or whatever,
Tyler is right. Just turn the radio up. It fixes 80% of the problems. He's right.
Damn right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but boy, we had to heat those that one caliber side up. Boy, I knew better. I knew I was on. That's why I ordered all that stuff. I just wish I had it earlier because I would have changed it all. It's a pain in the butt doing those rotors on those Isuzus though, because they have I don't know, 15. I think it's 15 or 20 Allen bolts that screw in the back of the hub to hold the rotors on.
Really?
And man, those things are a bitch to get out, dude. I'm gonna be playing with a torch again next week.
Now you got to go back and you got to go back in and do it all over again.
Yeah.
We'll start at 9 in the morning, not 9 at night.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wish it was that simple. I can't miss that much time.
Well, on a weekend, not on a
weekend. Yeah.
Well, if you start at 9 in the morning instead of 9 at night, 9 in the morning while you're working on it, you can think, hey, Ray's at some diner right now eating. He's he's doing the what is it, the Romeo thing?
Romeo Club, yeah. Or better yet, started at 9 at night. Don't finish, so when you come out the next day, it'll be like a quicker to finish, quicker job.
Yeah.
I'm halfway done. I'm flying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
And then when you're outside doing it, you're gonna have guys stopping. Hey, listen, man, can you give me a new wrench? I broke my wrench, and
that's usually what happens that's why I hate doing it out in front of the house.
Well, my
living on a main drag.
My tool guy's in Arizona, so but he said I could bring it anywhere in the country, and
that's the only problem. I hate when I'm working, or I like when I'm working on it. Like I said, I'm working on it, and one of my customers stopped by, and it's like, hey, maybe we can work something out, like to take some money off my tool bill. I'll do this, and I'll say, dude, I've seen your work. I don't want to redo it again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like,
I know, man. I got this.
It's all right.
Tyler said he snapped a suspension bolt on a Tahoe, and he spent an hour with the air hammer to get it out.
Almost.
That's interesting.
A bolt. He said he broke it on what?
A suspension bolt on a Tahoe. It might have been, maybe it went to like a bolt that went through the pinch clamp or something, and it was frozen in the assembly, so he had to drift it out.
Yeah. Was it the front suspension or was it the leaf springs?
Yeah. Either way, any suspension bolt can be a real pain in the neck.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah. I was really lucky. I was scared when I had to tighten up those U-bolts on the bed. I mean, on the box of the truck, because I did not want to break one of those. Because again, Saturday afternoon listening to Motor Mouth Radio, and I'm underneath there tightening up those bolts. I didn't want to break one of those, because then what do you do?
That's what I wanted to tell you. When I go to this one gas station, I come out the back way, the way I'm not supposed to leave, but I do anyway. And it's all industrial back there. So I've been seeing it for months now. There's the guy's got a Matco truck in his parking lot. And I finally looked closer, and I realized it made sense after you said what you were doing. It's just the box of the Matco truck. It's not a cab. He's got just the box. So with a lift gate and no cab, I'm like, wow, this is what happens when you don't tighten those bolts. So I don't know if he's got it as a storage unit or if it's been there for months. So I don't know if it's a Matco truck that's waiting to be fixed. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd love to know.
Yeah. I've seen, and I've had guys tell me, they buy the back, because the back of the truck, it's wired. I mean, it's wired. You could plug in. It's like a RV, like an RV. It's Shoreline. You could plug in, and I have 110, in the back, so you could plug it in, and you'll have 110. And your lights and everything working. I mean, I've had guys take them and, again, use them as working.
That may be what this is.
And store it, like I said.
Yeah.
I personally speaking, on my old truck, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put the box in the backyard. And that didn't go over too well.
No.
So, because I kept trying to explain it'd be just like a shed.
Oh, good God. Tyler sent me a picture of this is a rusted. Oh my God. Yeah. This was one of those things where you don't want to be, it's DEFCON 4 time. It's the torches, the air hammers, whatever. Yeah. Oof.
Can you put it up where we can see?
I got it on my phone. I'd have to, I'd have to send it to myself and let me see. How would I have to do this? What I would have to do is, wait, first. That means I got to go into the text. I have to save the picture. Well, let's see. I can share right from there. Can I share right to let's see. Let me try this. So let me go to Outlook. Good. Okay. Empty subject. Let's see. Tyler. Bink. Did it send? Let me see. Let's open mail. It did. Okay, so let's open his picture. Now, download that. What I do for you guys.
I know.
Let me see. Let me just make sure it went to. Let's see where it went. Oh yeah, there it went. That actually looks like it's kind of. All right, so now let's go back to here. And now we can the share screen go thing. Present. Share screen. Window. This. Here we go, boys. That's Tyler's.
That's nasty.
Wow.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah, this is the part that he had an air hammer. This looks like I can't tell if this is if it's actually let me remember how to do this. I think if I use see which one of these will no, that's not what I want to do.
That's the one for the upper control arm, right?
That's yeah. That's a control arm. Yes, I can't tell which way this looks best. Not like that. That's the way it came through.
Well, I can see the spring, or what looks like part of the spring. I can see the boot for what looks like the rack and pinion.
Yeah.
And that I guess that was that's what there should that's like a slotted nut, or that's an adjustment, right?
Or it might not have been slotted originally, but it was after.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so wow. That's
well, some of those on the control arm, they have those
eccentric
bolts that are set, where you can
for camber. Them. Yeah, for camber adjustment. Yeah.
Like if you put a camber kit on.
Isaac, Tyler's saying to text him. Send him a text. I guess he'll send you the picture.
Let me see if I can find his number.
He says the adjustable for the front upper. Yeah, I guess the front upper control arm. Camber adjustment, he said. Yeah.
Yeah, camber. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's been a while since you had a wheel alignment done.
Oh, it was just done by a professional.
Right. It was just in the shop last week, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Yeah, they said everything was fine. Didn't need anything.
Yep. They set the toe and let it go.
Yeah, got that right.
Or they just got the fat guy. Trust me, I've played this part. Hey, lean into this a little bit so we get it in the green. Print. Right. Okay, we're good.
Yep.
See, it's right around the paper.
Yep, it's green on the paper.
Quick, get a screenshot.
That's
Hey Tyler,
why don't we do this right? And he said, why? The roads were fucked up anyway. The first time the guy goes out and hits a pothole or hits the curb, drives off the curb, it ain't in alignment anymore, dude.
Right. So does anybody have a Summit account?
Summit? No.
Do they do Summit accounts?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
I might. I haven't used it in so long if I do.
I gotta start selling stuff. I'm spending more than I'm bringing in.
You end up going back to work.
No, don't say that. That's a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
4-letter word. Oh man.
Yeah.
A-Tech. Yes. You know what? Yep. John used to always talk about having an A-Tech account. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one at work.
Yeah. I guess that's probably Okay. Yeah, Tyler said he went in for alignment. They said it needs a ball joint before the alignment is to be performed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Needed more than that.
Yeah, it's
Yeehaw.
I don't know.
Tyler, I'm sending a test text. Hopefully this is you.
Hopefully it's you.
It'll be somebody.
If not, it's going to wake somebody up.
Somebody's getting a text.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Man,
I started to take down one number, and it was I was checking the numbers, and it was Brian's. And I was like, okay, well, that's not the right one. And I was like, at least if I text Brian on accident, he's here. He's up. I know he's
tell
up.
you.
Yeah,
Right.
he can yell at me on screen. Why are you texting so late? Don't you know what time it is?
Right.
Yeah. No, you text me anytime. Trust me, I freak out enough, guys, when I answer them back. Because I have a couple guys, that have they work the second shift or whatever. And I've always told them, because they always like, I can't remember what I needed or whatever. And I said, just text me. That's why it's in my phone. I mean, just text me, and that way I have it. And it's always funny. They'll text me and I'll answer them back. And they're like, dude, what are you doing up? And I said, I'm always up. So
All the time.
That was like I had a guy that worked the second shift, and when I get up and run credit cards on Friday mornings, he thought it would be funny to say, like, why are you taking my money, at 3:30 in the morning? And I was like, because you're supposed to pay me. And he was like, dude, you actually answered me.
Yeah.
He doesn't text me anymore in the morning.
No.
He doesn't text me anymore, but kind of freaked him out that I answered him.
That's funny. Yeah, right. A lot of times, we're texting, you think, I'll sneak this one through,
Yeah.
I'll see it later. It's, kind of, you think it's anonymous, but you never know. I know, like the station manager we have at the radio station, this guy is glued to his phone. I mean, you send him an email, a text, anything, it's like, boom, he answers you immediately. You must have this thing like sewn to his hand.
Yeah.
Like,
I give my wife a hard time because I'll text her something and it'll be like hours later, and I was like, why didn't you answer? Because I'd go, it'd be like, hey, do we need this? Or I want to stop and get this. And, of course, and then I get the answer and I'm like, it's afterwards. I'm like, well, I already left. And she's like, oh, well, I was like, why didn't you answer? She goes, well, I'm not, it's not near me. I don't carry it around or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you are not a lifeline.
Yeah, right. Right. Exactly.
You're not I think of Jerry Seinfeld when he had the order of people on the speed dial. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You went down a notch. You're not on the
up and down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girlfriend's mother put him on her speed dial, and the girlfriend was all pissed off.
Yeah.
You can't be number one. Yeah.
So I'm like, you're not a lifeline. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, dude, if I'm calling for I need something, man, and you never mind. I'll find a new number one, new number new fill in.
That's funny.
So
tell her, look, the Snap-on guy will come quicker than you.
Yeah.
Not around here.
Yeah, not to you. But.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well. Well, guys, it's almost that time.
Yeah, it is that time. So
I have to raid the refrigerator.
Yeah, let's pack it in and get out of here.
Get ready and run credit cards. And
Justin, you haven't taken us out in a while, so it's what do we say to the people that are waiting for me outside when I go out there and take my garbage out tonight?
We'll tell them that you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, and all of that, but don't follow us home. We got fuel injection systems put on.
Follow us to the AN store, and you can help us
Yeah.
pick out some fittings, right? We can give us some advice about that. That'd be nice. And if you have aluminum wrenches, you can follow me. But you know, I can't follow me any other time. All right, fellas.
Whatever you do, do not use that Snap-on Formula 1920 to wipe your bum.
Yeah.
Maybe a little astringent.
Words of wisdom.
I would like to know what they're charging for a tub of those towels. I'm curious. I'm just curious how much they have the balls to ask for that. You know,
yeah, you should be able to look on their website.
I
or their
guess.
app.
Yeah.
1920 formula. I don't know what that.
Well, that was when the 100th anniversary was last year, right? Houston, wasn't 100th anniversary last year? 22?
The year 20.
So then that would be 1920.
Yeah,
That'd be
I think it was 20.
Was it 3 years ago already? Holy
I
shit.
think
Time flies, man.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it is 20. So that's probably why, because it was the first. That was the year the.
Tyler put 2020.
Yeah,
all right.
On the private side.
Yeah,
it was.
There you go. All right, so for the late to the party, Lewis Lee, Playing Traffic, Ray Guarino, Motormouth Radio, of course, Matt Goman, Brian, Justin from American Gas, a Hot Rod. Check that guy out because he's doing some cool stuff. You'll see a fuel injection system get finished before mine.
That sounds cool, though. I've only got one of them.
Yeah. The guy I was talking to Texas, well, I don't know why, but he asked me, what color did you get? I'm like, black. I said, I got the color I wanted. I said, like Henry Ford said, any color as long as it's black. I said, I got two of them. I'm happy.
The black ones are nice.
Now you just got to get you had to get the AN fittings gold.
No, God, no. But I did find out,
Yeah,
I had the Hot Rod Innovations throttle spring, the one that works in compression. Remember we went through that with John. We did like a couple shows on it, how a spring in compression is much more tractable than a spring in tension. And they figured out a way to make a spring in compression for the throttle return. And I was just looking at it the other day, and I said, wow, I wonder if they made a different one for the Sniper. I don't know why I thought that. So I go on their website. I didn't even see a throttle return spring, but I wrote to the guy, and he says, no, actually we do have a different one for that. He goes, I'll send it out to you. So we're going to get him on the show. I was going to get him on. Hopefully I was trying to get him on this week, but he's not going to be available till the 21st. What's his first name? Gary Hayes. Hayes
is that guy that you? Is that guy you emailed the video of on the electrical stuff?
No, this guy, if you can check him out, it's hotrodinnovations.cool. I think we had him on, I had him on a radio show. I think I got him on this show. It'd be years ago now, so it wasn't current. But I remember because his URL was .cool. Yeah. And they do like hidden headlights for the C10 trucks, which is really cool.
Yeah, he was on what was that? Low car? No, what's
yes.
Is it low car or low?
I think he was on Sam Madavi's show.
Yeah.
Because they do a swing away steering column, but they didn't show now they didn't show their link. Actually, I think they got into the Summit catalog. So
they made their C10 a Z28 or RS.
So, right. So we're gonna get him on. I got him coming on the 21st, and then I'll get him on here.
Yeah,
I gotta talk to that one guy too. You and I were talking about the Mike that's doing the hydrogen stuff.
Mike, who's doing the hydrogen stuff?
We were texting back and forth.
Yes,
I think it was last week. Yeah.
Who was that? That would be cool. Yeah, right. That's a week is almost like a year. And 3 years is like a little lifetime. Right. So we'll continue on looking for good guests and having good fun. But and of course we can't leave out Tyler, who's in the ether over there, and of course Coach Isaac, who's making good tacos, and even if the meat's half frozen, but what the hell? So you bite into it, and you go, oh, what's that cold part? That's an olive. Don't worry.
Hey, you guys, be careful tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
have on a Friday.
The 4th was with me today, so I'll be safe for tomorrow.
Yeah. We have our national holiday.
That means I got to get my daughter to make margaritas tomorrow. Jeez, I hope she's not going out for dinner. Damn, that's going to suck.
Wow.
She's the margarita maker.
I might have to stop by.
Yeah, man, we'll make up a whole batch of those suckers.
That's a hell of a drive for the tool truck.
Yeah, well, take a car then. Take something. Take a regular vehicle.
I don't have one yet.
No, but I'll tell you, I found, we're going to be going back down to North Carolina in June, and I want to see if there's a way to go around DC. Is there a way to do that? Do I have to go through DC?
No, well, you go down. Was it 81? That takes you way out. I mean, but I think it's 81. I think.
Well, if it takes me out, but west, that could work because I got to go west.
Yeah.
You got to make a right
to Arizona.
Because I was 85, I think it was like 285 or something. Yeah, Arizona, I know.
And then double back underneath.
Right.
Double back under. That's a hell of a double back there, Coach.
Pick up a few stragglers that are coming over the fence.
Yeah, I think it's down. I think you can go down 81 because that's out. I think you can go down 80. I think it's 81.
I have to see where to pick that up from.
You would have to talk to Tori. Because I think that's what he does when he goes down that way.
Right.
Because that goes to Hagerstown, which is about 45 minutes from me on the other side.
The other side, right? That makes sense. Yeah, I got to reach. I was going to reach out to Tori about the some of the AN stuff anyway. So,
yeah.
The thing is with Tori, he's like a lot of us. When we talk, when we get on the phone, we're on the phone for like an hour and a half.
Oh, I know.
It's not a quick phone call. So, like a couple times I was going to call him, I'm like, oh damn, no, but I got to do something at at 12 or shit. Adam 12 is coming on. If I can't make that call now, I got to wait.
Adam 12 is coming. Damn.
Actually, you know what? Tori and I were going to get together for lunch at the Longhorn Steakhouse. We were going to do that for a while. So we're trying to do that since last summer. So you know what? Maybe that's the thing. We're going to get together for lunch. And we'll have this conversation over.
Well, that's no fair.
Well, like I was saying, though, I was in the middle of 3 stories. I realized when I went down to North Carolina in April that, man, Maryland comes up quick. It comes up pretty fast. It's like, it's just it's a grasp. It's not a hard shot. It really isn't.
No. Well, I mean, like I said, what is it? It's a little under 4 hours.
Yeah, about three and change, depending how you hit it.
Because, like I said, I went training up there for Porsche. Outside of New York. I mean, right.
You were in Mahwah. You were just in New Jersey. You had to go over the other bridge, which sucked. But
like I said, it was always, 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
really. I mean, that's about what it was.
I remember when we were going down, and we slogged through. When we went through the Baltimore tunnel, I said, here's Tori. I said, here's Brian's tunnel. And my wife's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's the tunnel. Brian christened this thing with open headers, man. I said, this is what I used to run. She's like, how do you know that? I'm like, how do I know that? He told me.
I used to love. That's like a 40-minute ride up 95 for me. I mean, that's how close. I mean, you drove right by my exit. I mean, I'm 10 miles from the 95.
Yeah.
If I drive 3 miles, I'm still in this state. Or not 3 miles, 300 miles. Sorry, 300 miles. Sorry, I know what I was thinking. My mouth and my brain didn't connect.
I could easily drive 300 miles and still be in this state, only halfway up, because New York is pretty freaking big. But most people, only know little bits and pieces of it. I've told people from out of state, I said, listen, everybody wants to come to New York and see a city. I get it. It's phenomenal. It's like everything you've ever seen on TV or a movie. I said, but that's not the whole state. I said, if you come out like where I am, I'm on an island. So we have an ocean and the Long Island Sound on the other side. And of course, we're suburban. So there's houses everywhere. There's in traffic. I said, but it's a regular place to live. If you go upstate, you don't have to go too far up into the Hudson Valley, like we're just north of where Terry is even. And it's beautiful. There's country, there's horses, there's farms, there's you know, I mean it's not. Then you go up, you got the Pocono Mountains, and you got the Adirondack Mountains after that. Then you got Canada. It's like it's big.
Yeah.
But anyway, every state has some nice stuff in it, but you only get to see little bits and pieces of it. So
very true.
All right. So for the boys, that's it. We're gonna chuck it in tonight and go, and we'll see you all next week.
You guys got to be safe, be careful.